November 10th, 2025, special hearing focused on transgender immigrants and issues affecting them. This meeting is called to order. May I ask Clerk Shore to please call the roll?
Thank you. Chair Sousa?
Here.
Vice Chair Chowdhury?
Here.
Commissioner Abdu is excused. Commissioner Aljiran?
Here.
Commissioner Farah?
Present.
Commissioner Howe?
Here.
Commissioner Kennelly?
Here.
Commissioner Ung?
Here.
Commissioner Obregon?
Here.
Commissioner Padilla?
Here.
Commissioner Paz?
Here.
Commissioner Ratanapakdi?
Here.
Commissioner Ruiz?
Here.
Commissioner Traore?
Here.
Commissioner Wong?
Here.
Thank you. We have a quorum.
Thank you, Clerk Shore. Now moving to item 2, land acknowledgement. We, the San Francisco Immigrant Rights Commission, acknowledge that we are on unceded ancestral homeland of the Ramaytush Ohlone, who are the original inhabitants of the San Francisco Peninsula. As the indigenous stewards of this land and in accordance with their traditions, the Ramaytush Ohlone have never ceded, lost, nor forgotten their responsibilities as the caretakers of this place, as well as for all peoples who reside in their traditional territory. As guests, we recognize that we benefit from living and working on their traditional homeland. We wish to pay our respects by acknowledging the ancestors, elders, and relatives of the Ramaytush community and by affirming their sovereign rights as First People. Thank you. Okay. Item 3, announcements. Director Rivas, I'll pass it to you.
Thank you. Good evening. Tonight's meeting is being interpreted into Spanish, Cantonese, Filipino, and Hindi. If you would like to listen to this meeting in Spanish, Cantonese, Filipino, or Hindi, headsets are available through the interpretation coordinator. We will now ask the interpreters to come up to the microphone at the podium to make this announcement in each language.
Si desea escuchar la reunión de esta noche, tenemos dispositivos disponibles aquí en la mesa del coordinador. Solo pida uno ahí y le prestamos los servicios con mucho gusto.
今晚嘅會議會有廣東話傳譯，如果你需要嘅話，請去我哋左手邊嗰度攞個耳機，唔該晒。
हम आप सबका यहाँ पर स्वागत कर रहे हैं और यहाँ पर जो अभी कार्रवाई चलेगी उसमें अगर आपको ये हिंदी में कार्रवाई सुननी है तो हेडसेट मौजूद है। आप ये कोऑर्डिनेटर के पास जाके हेडसेट ले लीजिए। तमाम बातों का अनुवाद होगा हिंदी में। धन्यवाद।
Magandang gabi po. May pagsasaling wika po tayo sa gabing ito. Kung nais niyo po marinig ang makinig po dito sa may kanan. Salamat po.
Thank you to our interpreters. A few reminders for today's meeting. Please silence all cell phones and devices so that speakers and commissioners can be heard. To all our speakers and commissioners, we would like to remind you to please speak slowly for our interpreters. If you're running out of time, please try to be concise. Members of the public who wish to make public comments should line up at the podium when public comment is called. If you wish to make a comment in language other than English, please let us know so we can be joined by an interpreter. Speakers using interpretation assistance will be allowed twice the time, the normal time. All participants and attendees are expected to behave responsibly and respectfully. This is a public meeting and it's being recorded. A reminder to please speak into the microphone so you can be heard clearly.
Thank you, Director Rivas. And the second portion of this item 3 is general public comment. This portion of this item allows members of the public to address the commission on matters that are within the subject matter jurisdiction of the commission and that do not appear on today's agenda. Do we have any public comment? Any general public comment? Okay. So I don't see any public comment. I will move to item 4. So item 4, recognizing Commissioners Gaim and Senghor, and then also welcoming Commissioners Howe, Padilla, and Traore. First, For item 4, I want to take this moment to recognize the significant contributions of Commissioner Geim, who served the Immigrant Rights Commission and held a position as vice chair. She is a tireless and passionate advocate for civil and immigrant rights and works to bridge language and generational gaps in the community. Also would like to extend my thanks on behalf of the Immigrant Rights Commission to Commissioner Segor for your service and contribution to this body. He brought his lived experience and commitment to uplift the voices of the most vulnerable immigrants, including the perspective of immigrant-owned small businesses. I also want to welcome the newly appointed Immigrant Rights Commissioners, Hans Howe, Laura Padilla, and Adubo Traore. We'll allow the new sworn commissioners to share some brief remarks, but first I would like to share a few moments with Director Rivas, if you'd like to give them a welcome as well.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So before we move on to forward today's agenda, I want to take a moment to recognize two commissioners who served this commission tirelessly. Both have contributed greatly to the Immigrant Rights Commission and to our shared mission of advancing inclusion and opportunity for San Francisco's diverse immigrant communities. Commissioner Geim, I want to extend our deepest appreciation for your years of service and commitment to this commission. You have been steady and thoughtful voice throughout your tenure, helping to guide this commission's work. Even though I was not here, I know your time as vice chair was especially impactful, and your leadership helped ensure that our discussions were inclusive, that differing viewpoints were heard, and that this commission's work remained focused on practical, community-centered outcomes. We are grateful for your leadership and for the many ways you have strengthened this body. Thank you. Commissioner Senhor, I would also like to express my heartfelt thank you for the years of service and the unique perspective you brought to this commission. As a small business owner and active member of San Francisco's immigrant community, you consistently reminded us of the vital role immigrant entrepreneurs play in our local economy and neighborhoods. Also, your generosity has gone above and beyond at the call of duty. You've modeled what it means to lead by example, giving your time, your resources, and your voice to help others. Your thoughtful contributions have enriched our discussions and deepened the understanding of what immigrant inclusion really looks like in practice. On behalf of the Immigrant Rights Commission, the Office of Civic Engagement and Immigrant Affairs, and the City and County of San Francisco, I want to sincerely thank you both, Commissioner Geim and Commissioner Senhor, for your service and your commitment and your partnership. You are always welcome to visit, provide public comment, and continue engaging with all of us. Back to you, Chair.
Thank you, Director Rivas. So give a minute for each newly sworn commission, starting with Hans Howe, then Laura Padilla, and Adubo Traore. Please.
Thank you, Chair Souza, fellow commissioners, Director Rivers, and members of the public. Thank you for having me. My name is Hans Howe, and I'm just so honored to serve on this commission. As an immigrant originally from Malaysia, I came to San Francisco to seek freedom from persecution and discrimination. And as a queer Southeast Asian immigrant, I know firsthand what it means to try to build a life in a new country while searching for belonging and dignity. And that's what led me to immigrant rights advocacy and for me to serve on this commission. And I just want to acknowledge the leadership of many people in this room that has passed Prop C, Commissions for All, back in 2020 to open the doors for many of us here on this commission to be able to serve. And I look forward to working with every one of the commissioners here to advance and uplift our immigrant residents here in the city.
Thank you. Commissioner Padilla.
Hello, Commission. Good evening, everyone. It's an honor to serve on the Immigrant Rights Commission. My own story of migration, hard work, and navigating the journey of immigration in this nation inspires me to be in this work every day. For me, this work is deeply personal. I spent my career in community spaces, schools, food programs, and advocacy, standing along families who contribute so much to this city, but often face barriers to opportunity and belonging. So I'm looking forward to advocating alongside my commissioners and our communities for immigrant rights, and I see it as human rights. So thank you for the opportunity and look forward to the work.
Thank you, Commissioner Traore.
Uh, Good evening, everyone. My name is Adubu Traore, and it's with deep humility and profound gratitude that I have been sworn in this evening as a commissioner of the San Francisco Immigrant Rights Commission. So I want to thank all my colleagues. I want to thank all the community members for massive presence here and really, making me believe that, on this mission, I won't be alone. So serving on this commission is not just a civic duty for me. It is a continuation of a lifelong commitment to ensuring that immigrant voices are heard, respected, and represented. I believe our work here is to help build bridges between communities and institutions, between promise and policy, and between the city's value and its everyday realities. Today, I've taken this oath not only as an individual, but as a representative of a broader movement, a movement for equity, dignity, and opportunity for all who call this city home. I pledge to bring my full self, my experiences, my convictions, and my collaborations to the service of this commission and the communities it stands for. And I would like at this point to recognize, people from my community who will be here before me. And when the conversation started about me joining the Immigrant Rights Commission, I went to talk to Dr. Tuyi Moses. I would like to recognize him. I went to talk to Harigo Gaime, as well as, I talked to Marco Sengo. And I would like, to recognize here, for having the trendsetters, particularly in the Black immigrant community. And again, thank you for this honor. And let's continue to make San Francisco a model of what an inclusive community, an inclusive society, an inclusive city can and should be. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your remarks. I just want to, remind that, for over 2 decades, the IRC played a central role in helping to shape inclusive policies in San Francisco, centering our sanctuary ordinance and uplifting our diverse immigrant communities. We look forward to continue this work in collaboration with your leadership. And again, on behalf of the Immigrant Rights Commission, I want to thank you for your commitment to serving our city. It's all about inclusion and uplifting our immigrant communities all the time. So do we have any public comment pertaining to this item?
Madam Chair, sorry.
Yes.
I also welcome the new commissioners.
Yes, yes, please.
If I may, through the chair,
Okay.
I would also like to take a moment to welcome and congratulate our commissioners who have been reappointed today, but also send a warm welcome to our new commissioners who were appointed today. Welcome to the Immigrant Rights Commission. To our reappointed commissioners, congratulations and thank you to you and your continued commitment for this work. Your experience, your insight are invaluable to the commission. You bring with you a deep understanding of our priorities and a proven dedication to advancing the rights of well-being of all San Francisco immigrant communities. Your reappointment is a reflection of your leadership and the trust placed in you to help guide this body forward. We are grateful for your willingness to continue serving and building upon the foundation of that you've established. To our new commissioners, Commissioners Hans, Padilla, and Torre, welcome to the Immigrant Rights Commission. We are thrilled to have you join us. Each of you brings unique perspectives, expertise, and lived experiences that will strengthen this commission's work. Whether through community advocacy, professional experience, or personal commitment, your voice will help ensure that our work and recommendations reflect the diversity and the resilience of San Francisco immigrant communities. This is a critical time for immigrant rights, both nationally and locally. You are joining a high-capacity commission with smart, dedicated, and passionate individuals. The work of this commission matters deeply, and your participation will help shape how our city continues to respond with compassion, equity, and accountability. I look forward to learning from you, collaborating with you, and working together to advance this commission's mission. On behalf of the entire commission, on behalf of the entire OSEA team, welcome, and congratulations to each of you on your appointment. We're excited to work ahead. I'm excited about the work ahead of us and confident that together we will continue to make meaningful difference to the communities we serve. Welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Director Rivas. And thank you for all your contributions and the entire OCS staff. So do we have any public comment related to item 4? I don't see any, so I will move to item 5, which is a special hearing on transgender immigrants. So for item 5A, first and foremost, I want to emphasize the importance of this hearing for San Francisco immigrant communities and acknowledge Commissioner Ruiz's leadership in leading the planning of this special hearing. And thank you, Director Rivas and the entire OCA team for your work and support. So Commissioner Ruiz, I will give you the floor to share some remarks.
Gracias. Una vez más, welcome to the new commissioners. Buenas tardes a todos, a todes y todas. En nombre de la Comisión de los Derechos de los Inmigrantes, quiero darles una cálida bienvenida y agradecer por acompañarnos hoy en esta audiencia pública sobre nuestras necesidades como mujeres y hombres trans inmigrantes en San Francisco. Nos reunimos aquí por creer firmemente que todas las personas merecemos vivir con dignidad, respeto y seguridad, sin importar nuestra identidad de género ni nuestro estatus migratorio. Sabemos que los cambios a nivel federal están afectando directamente a nuestras comunidades. En lo personal, durante mi entrevista de inmigración, se me cuestionó que si quería seguir con el nombre de Jessie o con el nombre que me asignaron mis padres al nacer. Esa experiencia me recordó lo importante que es tener espacios como estos, donde podemos ser escuchados, compartir nuestras historias y luchar juntos por respeto y reconocimiento. Este encuentro es una oportunidad para elevar nuestras voces, compartir información y buscar soluciones que nos ayuden a seguir adelante con orgullo, con respeto. Muchas gracias.
Good evening, everyone. On behalf of the Immigrant Rights Commission, I would like to extend a warm welcome and thank you for joining us today at this public hearing about our needs as transgender immigrant men and women in San Francisco. We're gathered here because we firmly believe that all people deserve to live with dignity, respect, and security, regardless of our gender identity or immigration status. We know that changes at the federal level are directly affecting our communities. Personally, during my immigration interview, I was asked whether I wanted to continue using my name, Jessie, or the name my parents gave me at birth. That experience reminded me how important it is to have spaces like these, places where we can be heard, share our stories, and fight together for our respect and recognition. This meeting is an opportunity to raise our voices, share information, and look for solutions that help us move forward with pride and respect. Thank you.
Thank you. Before we move to the invited speakers, I'd like to provide an update on the order of the items. So first, we're going to hear from presenters. And then we'll allow time for commissioners to ask questions and then move to public comment. So we ask that, your presentations are, brief to allow more time for the public to weigh in as well and share their perspective of what's happening in the community and how our beloved transgender community is, engage in this time where there's so much uncertainty. So first, I would like to invite Executive Director Honey Mahogany from San Francisco Office of Transgender Initiatives. And I want to thank you for being here with us and providing, an update on city policies in place. Thank you.
Good evening, Chair, Commissioners, and Director, and staff of the Immigrant Rights Commission. My name is Honey Mahogany. I'm the Director of the Office of Transgender Initiatives. And I believe we have a presentation that should be able to see in front of you. Yes, there we go. So when we were called to this commission, part of the goal was really to give you a little bit of a landscape analysis of what's happening with the transgender community here in the United States of America and here in California and San Francisco specifically. Next slide, please. Oh, I can do it. Yeah. Totally. Back in April, there were already 876 anti-trans bills proposed nationwide. And now, within just a little bit closer. Oh, okay. Thank you. And just keep hitting next. There we go. So back in April, we had about 800 anti-trans bills introduced across the country. Those were mostly state bills, but also some federal ones. Just as of this last month, there are now over 1,000 anti-trans bills that have been introduced across this country. The number of anti-trans laws at the federal level actually more than doubled during that same time period, going from 41 to over 100 bills introduced. In addition to attacks by state legislatures, trans people continue to endure direct attacks from the federal administration in the form of executive orders and policies. These include things like banning trans people from serving in the military and executive orders that ban them from having passports that represent their gender identity. Next slide. Luckily, here in California, we have a state legislature that has really gone to bat for the trans community and has passed many protections, including things like ensuring that name and gender changes are kept secure, that people are able to access appropriate bathroom facilities, and things of that nature, but also a lot of online protections as well. There's a whole list of bills. I can go through them with you if you have questions, but in the interest of time, we're going to move on. Next slide. And hit next. So in 2023, the Office of Transgender Initiatives completed a survey of the trans population and its trans serving organizations. And what we found is that in 2023, about 3 to 4% of the population of San Francisco identified as trans. That's almost 4 times as high as across the nation. Some of the priority areas that the trans community identified should not come as any surprise to you. Housing was the most important priority and followed very closely by economic empowerment and employment opportunities. And then, of course, healthcare access, as well as social programs to reduce isolation. Next slide. Go ahead, next slide. So with housing and homelessness, there actually is a statistics that's pretty jarring and shows you the extreme pressure that trans people are facing in this country today. Right now, 1 out of every 2 trans people will experience homelessness at some point in their lives. And in fact, sorry, go back 1 second. We have seen that here in San Francisco, we have seen many people fleeing the country. 1 in 2 trans people have also already fled their home states for places like California that are sanctuary states. And many organizations are already seeing that increase. I know Ela Para Trans Latinas is going to be presenting later on tonight. They have seen already a 46% increase in participation, not of people coming from Latin America, but people coming from other states seeking sanctuary. Next slide. Some of the mental health care outcomes over the last few years have been pretty shocking as well. In 2024, we saw negative health and mental health outcomes for trans people increase, and in some cases even double. For example, depression rates among trans adults doubled to 51% as compared to 2014 statistics. Additionally, 71% of trans youth reported experiencing anxiety or depression, and almost 46% reported seriously considering suicide. Next slide. At the same time, many of the organizations that provide life-saving mental health care and medical care to trans youth are facing constant threats. Many are under threat through executive orders, as we discussed earlier, state laws banning care, facing federal and state defunding, and more. As a result, Children's Hospital of Los Angeles, the largest provider of gender-affirming care for youth, completely shut down its gender-affirming care center. Stanford Hospital and Kaiser have also rolled back its gender-affirming care for trans youth. Next slide. Over the course of 1 year, the proportion of participants who reported anxiety symptoms rose again from 57% to 68%. As political rhetoric in the last couple of years has boiled over on issues such as teaching about LGBTQ identity in schools, transgender students playing on sports teams, and whether to allow gender-affirming care, the share of youth who said they'd experienced symptoms of depression rose from 48% to 54%. Those reporting having suicidal thoughts went from 41% to 47%. And to clarify, these are statistics for the LGBTQ community as a whole. But specifically for transgender non-binary youth, they were nearly twice as likely to say that they'd struggled with anxiety and suicide, a pattern that held steady throughout the first year of data collection on this participant group. Next slide. Between May 1st, 2024 and May 1st, 2025, the Alert Desk of GLAAD tracked 932 anti-LGBTQ incidents in 49 states across the country. This is an equivalent of 2.5 incidents every day. 52% of these incidents specifically targeted transgender people. Violent attacks included in this year's count resulted in 84 injuries, 10 deaths, 8 of which involved fatal violence against people of color. Next slide. It should come as no surprise to you that the demand for legal services and immigrant services have risen here in San Francisco and across the country. Because our community is intersectional, many people come here to the United States because they are LGBTQ and specifically because they are trans, because it is no longer safe to be trans in their home countries. Unfortunately, what they have found when they're coming here is that the US has grown increasingly hostile to both immigrant communities and trans communities. And yet we are seeing that, again, the political landscape for those organizations that would serve those communities is troubling, and they continue to struggle with funding. Next slide. So for the Office of Transgender Initiatives, we have a list of priorities that follow us from year to year. Some of those include collecting the city's sexual orientation and gender identity data. And currently we are working on analyzing that data to be able to provide accurate information to our city departments, our mayor's office, and our legislators so that they can make good decisions when it comes towards our city's budget and also updating our city's policies. Additionally, Mayor Breed did implement the Ending Trans Homelessness program, and that program has been wildly successful in getting people off of the streets and out of shelters into permanent, stable housing. So we hope to continue to be able to do that work into the future. Additionally, Trans Advocacy Week is a really important week for the Office of Transgender Initiatives and for many of the trans-serving orgs that operate here in San Francisco. Here in San Francisco, we're lucky that we have the opportunity for trans people and trans-serving orgs to have one-on-one time with our city's leaders, our board of supervisors, our mayor's office, and to be able to advocate and make the case for the reasons why trans services must be funded. Mm-hmm. And finally, the Office of Transgender Initiatives is currently exploring ways to improve our sanctuary city laws here in the city and county of San Francisco. As many of you know, San Francisco is a sanctuary city by ordinance for immigrants. However, it is only a sanctuary city for trans people through resolution. And so there are no real tangible ways written into law that help hold the city accountable and ensure that we will continue to be a welcoming place for transgender individuals. Next slide. So here again, we have just some facts, if you don't know this already, about San Francisco. San Francisco has been a leader in the area of trans rights. We are the place of the Compton's cafeteria riots, the first officially documented uprising of LGBTQ people in the entire country. We are the place where we've had the first transgender district, the first Office of Transgender Initiatives. San Francisco was the first place to declare a Transgender History Month. And from that, we now have a Transgender History Month celebrated across the state and also in many different parts of the country. As such, and in addition to that, again, we were one of the first cities to pass a sanctuary city law when it came to trans people, or rather a resolution. And so we really have a duty here in the city and county of San Francisco to the many trans people who have helped build this city, who have been a part of the city's fabric, but also to those who come here to seek refuge, to really stand up at this time when the trans community is so under attack. Some of the suggestions that we have talked about already include looking at ways to codify the protections for trans people through ordinance, but it also includes ensuring that we don't cut vital funding from those orgs that are already receiving cuts from perhaps grants that are impacted by the federal government's executive orders, Medicaid funding, and additionally, the fear of philanthropy to donate to organizations that are that the federal administration is hostile to. So it's really crucial that both the state and the city does its part in standing up for the trans community during this time. And with that, I will end my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Mahogany. We ask that you refrain from applause. Sorry about that, thanks. So I will move to the next speaker, presenter, Deputy Director Sofia Rios Dorantes from EA para Translatinas. Thank you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you very much. Thanks for inviting me. This speech will be in Spanish. Buenas noches, comisionados, miembros de la comunidad, activistas, aliados y hoy presentes. Mi nombre es Sofía Sabina Ríos Dorantes, mujer transgénero, indígena e inmigrante, y funjo como directora adjunta en ELA para Translatinas. ELA para Translatinas es la única organización dirigida y liderada por personas intersex y trans latinas en el condado de San Francisco, en el condado y ciudad de San Francisco, en el área de la Bahía, así como en el norte de California. Gracias por abrir este espacio tan necesario en una ciudad que ha sido faro de esperanza y resistencia para quienes huimos de la violencia, la exclusión y la persecución, las cuales llegamos al área de la Bahía en busca de lo que debería ser un derecho universal: vivir con dignidad, tener acceso a la salud y poder existir sin miedo. Sin embargo, las leyes federales de los Estados Unidos y la forma en que se están aplicando continúan imponiendo barreras que ponen en riesgo nuestras vidas, especialmente para quienes vivimos con VIH. Y aunque San Francisco se esfuerza con ser un refugio, el peso de las políticas federales siguen afectando profundamente a nuestras comunidades locales. Muchas de nosotras provenimos de países como México, Guatemala, El Salvador, Honduras o Nicaragua, donde la violencia contra las personas trans es brutal y constante. Más del 80% de las mujeres transgénero migrantes latinoamericanas que buscamos asilo en Estados Unidos hemos sido víctimas de violencia sexual o física antes de huir de nuestros países de origen, según informes de Human Rights Watch y Amnistía Internacional. Cuando llegamos a la frontera estadounidense, esperamos por protección, pero lo que encontramos muchas veces es otro tipo de violencia: detención prolongada en centros de ICE, donde somos alojadas en unidades masculinas, negación de tratamiento hormonal o de la terapia de reemplazo endocrino, interrupción del tratamiento antirretroviral para quienes vivimos con VIH y un ambiente de abuso verbal, psicológico e incluso sexual de forma constante. Hemos Estos hechos violan no solo los derechos humanos básicos, sino también las obligaciones internacionales de la protección asumidas por Estados Unidos bajo la Convención sobre los Refugiados de 1951 y la Convención contra la Tortura. Aunque el derecho estadounidense reconoce la identidad de género como motivo de persecución para el asilo, las políticas federales no garantizan una protección afectiva ni continuidad médica durante el proceso. En materia de salud, la sección 1557 de la Ley de Cuidado de Salud Accesible Affordable Care Act prohíbe la discriminación por identidad de género. Sin embargo, en la práctica, las protecciones se debilitan por interpretaciones cambiantes de la ley según la administración federal de turno. Esto genera un vacío peligroso. Los hospitales y clínicas federales no siempre ofrecen atención de afirmación de género. Los proveedores de salud pueden alegar objeción religiosa y las mujeres trans inmigrantes sin estatus legal quedamos excluidas de Medicaid y Medicare sin poder costear tratamientos esenciales para nuestra transición ni para el VIH. De esta forma, las políticas federales no solo nos excluyen, sino que también nos condenan a enfermar, a escondernos o a morir en silencio. Aquí, en el área de la Bahía, vemos los resultados directos de estas políticas. San Francisco se enorgullece de su red de salud pública, pero las brechas federales obligan a las organizaciones locales a cubrir los vacíos con recursos limitados. Organizaciones como Mission Neighbor Health Center, la Clínica de la Raza y la San Francisco AIDS Foundation están brindando atención médica integral a mujeres trans inmigrantes que viven con VIH, ofreciendo espacios seguros, médicos competentes en diversidad de género y acompañamiento legal. Sin embargo, el financiamiento no alcanza. Estas organizaciones dependen de subvenciones estatales y municipales temporales, mientras que las políticas federales limitan la elegibilidad de los fondos para personas sin estatus migratorio regular. En otras palabras, el sistema federal crea las condiciones de exclusión y luego deja a las ciudades como San Francisco solas para sostener la respuesta humanitaria. Las mujeres translatinas inmigrantes que vivimos con VIH enfrentamos una doble estigmatización. Por un lado, el estigma del VIH, aún cargado de prejuicios morales, y por otro, la discriminación por ser transgénero, latina e inmigrante, y también indígena. En muchos casos, la falta de acceso a servicios médicos adecuados provoca retrocesos en nuestro tratamiento, lo que afecta a nuestra salud física y mental. El VIH, hoy controlable, vuelve a convertirse en una sentencia cuando el sistema niega medicamentos, atención o estabilidad. Pero más allá de lo médico está lo humano. Cada política que les niega una hormona, un tratamiento o una cita médica les recuerda que su vida no tiene el mismo valor a los ojos del Estado. Y eso, comisionados, no es un asunto técnico, es una violación a los derechos humanos y a la justicia social. Por eso hoy les propongo acciones específicas que esta comisión puede impulsar desde el ámbito local y recomendar a las autoridades estatales y federales. Fondo Municipal Permanente de Salud Trans e Inmigrante, que garantice atención médica integral, medicamentos para VIH y terapias de afirmación de género sin importar estatus migratorio. Resolución de la ciudad instando al Congreso y a la HHS, Health and Human Services, a mantener e implementar plenamente las protecciones de la sección 1557 de la ACA. Supervisión local de centros de detención y programas de custodia migratoria para asegurar que se cumplan los estándares médicos internacionales. Apoyo financiero sostenido a organizaciones comunitarias lideradas por personas trans y latinas, las cuales somos las que realmente estamos en primera línea ofreciendo recursos esenciales, refugio, apoyo y defensa para una de las poblaciones más vulnerables y marginadas. Capacitación obligatoria cultural LGBTQI+, y VIH para personas médicas de servicios sociales y de migración en toda la red de atención municipal. Las medidas son visibles, afectivas y reflejan los valores de San Francisco como ciudad santuario y como pionera en la salud pública. Comisionades, San Francisco fue la primera ciudad del país en responder con compasión durante la crisis del VIH. Fue también una de las primeras en reconocer los derechos de las personas trans. Esa historia nos obliga a seguir liderando. Las mujeres translatinas, inmigrantes que buscamos asilo y vivimos con VIH no solo somos cifras, ni expedientes. Somos hijas, hermanas, trabajadoras, soñadoras, Cada una de nosotras encarna la promesa americana de libertad, pero esa promesa sigue incompleta. No basta con abrir las puertas a la ciudad, debemos asegurarnos de que esas puertas conduzcan a un sistema que reciba a las comunidades translatinas con cuidado, equidad y respeto. El camino empieza aquí, en una comisión con su voz, con su voto, con su compromiso, porque cuando garantizamos derechos para los más vulnerables, las más vulnerables, fortalecemos la justicia para todos. Muchísimas gracias.
Gracias.
Good evening, commissioners, community members, activists, allies, and everyone present today. My name is Sofia Sabina Rios Dorantes, a transgender, indigenous, and immigrant woman, and I serve as a deputy director of ELA para Translatinas. ELA para Translatinas is the only organization run and led by intersex translatinas in San Francisco County and City, as well as in the Bay Area and Northern California. Thank you for opening this much needed space in a city that has been a beacon of hope and resilience for those of us who fled violence, exclusion, and persecution. We came to the Bay Area in search of what should be a universal right to live with dignity, to have access to healthcare, to be able to exist without fear. However, US federal laws, the way they are being enforced, continue to impose barriers that put our lives at risk, especially for those of us living with HIV. Although San Francisco strives to be a haven, the weight of federal policies continues to profoundly affect our local communities. Many of us from countries like Mexico, Guatemala, El Salvador, Honduras, or Nicaragua, where violence against trans people is brutal and constant. More than 80% of Latin American transgender migrant women seek asylum in the United States have been victims of sexual or physical violence before fleeing our countries of origin, according to reports by the Human Rights Watch and Amnesty International. When we arrive at the US border, we expect protection, but we often find is another kind of violence. Prolonged detention in ICE facilities where we are housed in male units, denial of hormone therapy and endocrine replacement therapy, interruption of antiretroviral treatment for those of us living with HIV, and an environment of constant verbal, psychological, and even sexual abuse. These acts violate not only basic human rights, but also the international protection obligations assumed by the United States under the 1951 Refugee Convention and the Convention Against Torture. Although the US laws recognize gender identity as grounds for asylum, federal policies do not guarantee the effective protection or continuity of care throughout the process. In healthcare, Section 1557 of the Affordable Care Act prohibits discrimination based on gender identity. However, in practice, protections are weakened by shifting interpretations of the law under different federal administrations. This creates a dangerous vacuum. Federal hospitals and clinics do not always offer gender-affirming care. Healthcare providers can claim religious objection. An undocumented transgender migrant woman are excluded from Medicaid and Medicare, unable to afford essential treatments for transition or for HIV management. In this way, federal policies not only exclude us, but also condemn us to illness, to hiding, and to dying in silence. Here in the Bay Area, we are the direct results of these policies. We see the direct result of these policies, excuse me. San Francisco prides itself on its public health network, but federal funding gaps force local organizations to fill the void with limited resources. Organizations like Mission Neighborhood Healthcare Center, La Clínica de la Raza, and SF/AIDS Foundation are providing comprehensive care to transgender migrant women living with HIV, offering safe spaces, gender-inclusive physicians, and legal support. However, funding is insufficient. These organizations rely on temporary state and city grants, while federal policies restrict eligibility for funding for people without legal immigration status. In other words, the federal system creates conditions for exclusion and then leaves cities like San Francisco to sustain the humanitarian response on their own. Trans-Latina immigrants living with HIV face double stigmatization. On the other hand, the stigma of HIV, still laden with moral prejudice. On the other hand, discrimination for being trans-Latina, an immigrant, and indigenous. In many cases, the lack of access to adequate medical services leads to setbacks in our treatment, affecting our physical and mental health. HIV, now manageable, becomes a death sentence again when the system denies medication, care, or stability. But beyond the medical aspect, there is the human one. Every policy that denies them a hormone, treatment, or medical appointment reminds them that their lives do not have the same value in the eyes of the state. And that, commissioners, is not a technical matter. It is a violation of human rights and social justice. Therefore, today, I propose specific actions that this commission can promote at the local level and recommend to the state and federal authorities. 1, permanent municipal trans and migrant health fund that guarantees comprehensive medical care, HIV medications, and gender-affirming therapies regardless of immigration status. 2, a city resolution urging Congress and the Department of Health and Human Services, HHS, to maintain and fully implement protections of Section 1557 of the Immigration and Customs Enforcement Act, ACA. 3, local oversight of detention centers and immigration custody programs to ensure compliance with the international and medical standards. 4, sustain financial support for community-based organizations led by trans and Latinx people who are truly on the front lines, providing essential resources, shelter, support, and advocacy to one of the most vulnerable and marginalized populations. 5, mandatory LGBTQ+ and HIV cultural competence training for medical, social service, and immigration personnel throughout the municipal care network. These measures are viable, effective, and reflect San Francisco's values as a sanctuary city and a pioneer in public health. Commissioners, San Francisco was the first city in the nation to respond with compassion during the HIV crisis. It is also one of the first to recognize the rights of transgender people. That history compels us to continue leading. Trans-Latina immigrants seeking asylum and living with HIV are not only just statistics or case files. We are daughters, sisters, workers, dreamers. Each of us embodies the American promise of freedom, but that promise remains incomplete. It is not enough to open our city's doors. We must ensure that those doors lead to a system that welcomes trans-Latina communities with care, equity, and respect. Change begins here, in this commission, with your voice, your vote, your commitment, because we are guaranteed rights for the most vulnerable. When we guarantee rights for the most vulnerable, we strengthen justice for all. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah, please refrain from applause. Thank you. Next, we have Director of Programs, Fanny, from Paravar Bay Area. Is that correct? Yes. Thank you for being here.
I look okay from the back. It's recorded, okay? I'm trying not to be public. Doing it for free too. Yeah. Hi, everybody.
Good evening.
It's Monday. Be cheerful for me, please, if you can. So, good evening, Commissioners, Director Rivas. Hi, and community partners. Happy Transgender Awareness Week, and thank you for centering this hearing on transgender immigrants, the heartbeat of San Francisco's sanctuary promise. My name is Pawnee, Director of Programs and Strategy at Paravar Bay Area, America's first and only Kinar Hijra-led organization uplifting
Global South, API, transgender, gender diverse, and intersex immigrants. Since 2018, Parvar has been both sanctuary and stage, a home where healing meets leadership. Through advocacy, direct support, and culture, we've empowered 104,000 plus trans and hijra immigrants worldwide. Is that the first slide?
Yes.
Closer to the mic.
Oh,
please,
closer to the mic.
So I can hear.
Oh, each gathering, each story builds dignity and belonging. Like two days. We launched CTAL, the world's largest transgender entrepreneurship initiative, supporting 23 trans-led businesses. Through our Immigrant Emerging Leadership Program, 212 graduates from 13 countries have gained employment, entrepreneurship, and civic power. Here in the Bay Area, we've led 600 plus social engagements and resettlement efforts, uplifting intersectional transgender unity and engaging 28,300 community members, primarily across San Francisco. We've offered direct legal and social resettlement support for dozens navigating asylum and housing. And last month, in a historic moment, we opened the Parvar Immigrant Culture Center at 837 Turk Street, right next to the EDD office. It's on Franklin and Turk. 2 doors down, come visit us right across the street from the Shell gas station. San Francisco, it is San Francisco's first permanent home for trans immigrants, belongings, and trans artists, cultural uplifting. It's not just an office, it's a declaration that we belong here. Next slide, please. San Francisco has one of the largest trans populations in the US. 6% identify as transgender, triple the national average. 42% of them are immigrants, excuse me. Yet only 600 trans immigrants have been served in 5 years, just 3% of the community. 97% remain unserved. That's not a data gap, that's a justice gap. We need data equity like the Williams Institute study for California. San Francisco calls itself a sanctuary city. Let's ensure that trans immigrants are protected, counted, and resourced. Now I invite our president, Anjali Rimi, to speak about the climate our communities are navigating and to lift voices of our trans immigrant sisters.
Good evening, namaste. I'm speaking for our community as a whole. What you're seeing up on the slide is what's happening with the federal climate as well as locally. This was an output of a focus group that our director of leadership program, Victoria Castro, led with our 33 Spanish cohort members and other folks. And as you can see, even in sanctuary cities, federal enforcement still casts a shadow of fear. Trans Latina asylum seekers wait years for safety and work and then get misgendered in their asylum cases. 68% of trans immigrants rely on unsafe, non-prescription hormones, a matter of survival. Rigid ID and housing rules erase our identities. Locally, fear of deportation keeps people from care. Without affirming bilingual immigrant competent services, many suffer in silence. Housing insecurity, employment barriers, and underrepresentations remain daily realities because the mainstream immigrant communities do not see trans immigrants. These findings came from the focus group that was led by Victoria Castro over the last few weeks with particularly Spanish-speaking trans immigrant women from across 16 different countries. The message is clear. We are here, we contribute, and we're still waiting to be seen. Next, I'd like to share the story of Kay. If you all remember in May 2023, when we did her hearing, when we had this hearing, we celebrated her as she won her asylum case and got her green card, or was told so. But her reality has changed. If you can place the first video. She's not here, and I'm not sure if the volume is going to play on it.
Okay, I need a techie.
Any tech bros in the house?
Somebody will get the thing.
Well, let me keep going. Kajal, Kay, worked hard, and she became a commercial truck driver. 4 months ago, her license was taken away. She was misgendered, and now her green card's not in her hand and her EAD card is not in her hand. Last month, she became homeless. Can you play that again? And now I want you to hear what is happening to her in her own words. It's going to come from my phone.
नमस्ते, कैसे हैं आप? आशा करती हूँ मैं आप सब ठीक होंगे। आए हुए हमारे अतिथि, हमारे जो सम्मानीय अधिकारी लोग आए हुए हैं, आप लोगों के लिए मैं दुआ करती हूँ आप लोग खुश रहे, तंदुरुस्त रहे, अच्छे रहे और आप अपनी तरक्कियां करें, आपकी मन की मुराद पूरी हो। मेरा नाम खे है और मेरा 2023 में हो गया था, तो मैंने सोचा था कि अब तो मेरे लिए इजी हो गया सारा कुछ। तो मेरी लाइफ अच्छी चल रही थी। उस टाइम ट्रक ड्राइवर हूँ मैं, कमर्शियल ड्राइविंग लाइसेंस है मेरे पास। मैं अपने अच्छे से लाइफ जी रही थी और कोशिश यही कर रही थी कि अच्छे से आगे भी अच्छा होगा। पर अभी जो सिचुएशन है यहाँ पे जो बनी हुई है, अभी मैं बिल्कुल टूट चुकी हूँ, बिल्कुल हार चुकी हूँ, क्योंकि मेरे पास ना तो मेरा ग्रीन कार्ड आया अभी, जो ग्रीन कार्ड के हार्ड कॉपी आनी चाहिए थी, ना मेरे पास वर्क परमिट आया, क्योंकि मैं डीएमवी में जाती हूँ तो वो बोलते हैं कि आप अपना ग्रीन कार्ड लेके आइए। तो मेरा लाइसेंस भी उन्होंने सस्पेंड कर दिया, कैंसिल कर दिया है और मैं बहुत हालत खराब है। मैं तो एक हूँ, पर मेरे जैसे यहाँ पे कितने हैं, कितने लोग प्रॉब्लम में हैं, कितनी प्रॉब्लम फेस कर रहे हैं। मैं इतनी दुखी हो गई हूँ। मैं सोच रही थी कि मैं एक अच्छी लाइफ जीऊँ यहाँ पे आके, सारा कुछ अच्छा चल रहा था कि ये सब हो के ना मेरा सारा सपना टूट गया, मैं बिखर गई हूँ। मेरे पास कोई ऑप्शन नहीं है। परिवार में एरिया 2022 से मेरी हेल्प कर रहा है, हमेशा मेरे साथ खड़ा हुआ है, मुझे सपोर्ट कर रहा है और मुझे नहीं, जितने भी लोग हैं सभी की हेल्प कर रहा है। अगर
I don't know about you, but it's really hard for me to see my sister, who actually helped so many more Kinnars, not only settle, but actually get married and start families, to now have her bottom fall out, just like so many immigrants, things taken away from her. And now she got told that her EAD extension is no longer valid because they took away the 504 days. So she can't absolutely work anywhere. I just want you to know that this is the story of so many of us trans immigrants, so many erased. And I'd like to invite up a member of our founding board and a powerful transgender leader, Jeja, to share their own experience.
शुभ संध्या, आव्रजन आयोग के सम्मानित सदस्य। मेरा नाम जय है। मैं आपके सामने एक गर्वित ट्रांसजेंडर लिंग गैर अनुरूप व्यक्ति के रूप में खड़ी हूं, जो कुछ साल पहले इसी आयोग के सामने एक ट्रांसजेंडर जो जीवित रहने की अपनी चिंता को व्यक्त करने की कोशिश कर रही थी, जबकि वह छवि खुद ही शहर में ट्रांसजेंडर कल्याण की दुखद स्थिति प्रस्तुत करती है। मुझे ये बताते हुए खुशी हो रही है कि मैं तब से संयुक्त राज्य अमेरिका की नागरिक बन गई हूं, जिसने बदले में मेरे कंधों से एक बड़ा बोझ उठा लिया है। मैं आपको इस यात्रा का एक स्नैपशॉट प्रस्तुत करने के लिए यहां हूं। 2011 में मैं अमेरिका पहुंची। मुझे तब पता था, अपने सबसे तार्किक और अच्छी तरह से सोचे भविष्य के परिदृश्य के पूर्वानुमान में, कि अगर मैं भारत से न निकली तो मैं अपना जीवन समाप्त कर देती। मैं एक छुपी हुई समलैंगिक व्यक्ति के रूप में अमेरिका पहुंची, जो पूरी तरह से हर भारतीय की तरह ट्रांसजेंडर एवं स्त्री विरोधी पितृसत्तात्मक घृणा से प्रभावित थी। उत्पीड़न न केवल किसी व्यक्ति की स्वयं की भावना को रोकता है, बल्कि सबसे महत्वपूर्ण बात यह है कि वह उनकी कल्पना का दम घुटा देता है। अमेरिका में सर्वनामों की स्वतंत्रता को समझने में मुझे 3 साल लग गए। जब मैं अपनी स्नातक की पढ़ाई पूरी करने के बाद निर्वासन से भयभीत थी, सैन फ्रांसिस्को में एक ड्रैग क्वीन ने मुझे ट्रांसजेंडर की उपाधि दी। संदर्भ के लिए उस समय मेरे पास 2 मास्टर डिग्रीज थे और कॉर्पोरेट क्षेत्र में 15 से अधिक वर्षों का अनुभव, और फिर भी मैं पूरी तरह से अनजान थी कि ट्रांसजेंडर का उपनाम जो मैंने तब तक घृणा से जोड़ा था, वास्तव में मैं थी। मुझे इस अनजान उद्धारकर्ता द्वारा भी सूचित किया गया था कि सैन फ्रांसिस्को वह जगह है जहां कोई भी ट्रांसजेंडर शरण के लिए आवेदन कर सकती है। फिर समय के खिलाफ एक दौड़ शुरू हुई। 25 से अधिक गैर लाभकारी संगठनों के दरवाजे पर दस्तक देने की 8 महीने की यात्रा, और मुझे शरण पाने में मदद करने के लिए किसी भी तरीके से वकील की खोजने के लिए जिसका खर्च मैं बर्दाश्त करने में असमर्थ थी। मैं अपनी कहानी से यहां कुछ चीजों को इंकित करना चाहती हूं। 1, अप्रवासी जो सैन फ्रांसिस्को जैसे अभयारण्य शहर में समाज के सबसे हाशिए वाले वर्ग हैं, जो अपने गृह देशों से प्रचलित घृणित स्थितियों से सुरक्षा की तलाश करने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं, अधिक बार न तो अपनी पहली भाषा के रूप में अंग्रेजी से संबंधित है और न ही ट्रांसजेंडर शब्द की परिभाषा के पीछे सांस्कृतिक संदर्भ से परिचित है। दूसरा, अगर कोई भी संसाधन, व्यक्ति या राजस्व ऐसा है जो वास्तव में मानवता के हमारे इस सबसे हाशिए वाले वर्ग,
If you could please wrap up, please. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. कृपया ट्रांसजेंडर और लिंग के शब्द द्वारा संबद्ध दोनों की दृश्यता का विस्तार करने के लिए संसाधनों का खर्च करें, खासकर उन स्थानों और मोहल्लों में जहां हम जानते हैं कि अप्रवासी ट्रांसजेंडर आबादी प्रवासित है। I'm going to read this in English now. Good evening, respected members of the Immigration Commission. I stand before you as a proud transgender, gender non-conforming individual who not too long ago was standing deposing before this same commission in tears trying to express my anxiety of surviving as a transgender individual in San Francisco. While that image itself presents a sad state of affairs of transgender welfare in the city, I am pleased to report that I have since then become a citizen of the United States of America, which in turn has taken away a huge burden off my shoulders. I'm here to present to you a snapshot of that journey. In 2011, I came to America to escape what I then knew in its most logical and well-thought-out future scenario forecast that had I not escaped India, I would have ended my life. I arrived in America as a gay man in closet, completely taken in by the misogynistic, patriarchal hatred that India bestowed upon its transgender population. Oppression does not only inhibit a person's sense of self, but most importantly, it suffocates their imagination. It took me 3 years in America to understand the freedom of pronouns. While I was staring at deportation after I had finished my graduate studies, a drag queen in San Francisco casually offered me the title of transgender. To put in context, by this time, I had 2 master's degrees and over 15 years of experience in the corporate sector. And yet I was completely unaware that the moniker of transgender that I had so far associated with disgust and a social class I would be abhorrent to be identified with was actually me.
Excuse me, can you slow because there's interpretation?
Sorry, I was just time pressure. I'm so sorry.
No, it's
Thank
okay.
you.
We'll wait for you. We'll
Okay,
wait.
thank you. Sorry. I was also informed by this unaware savior that San Francisco is the place where one can apply for asylum if one is or identifies as transgender. Then began a race against time. 8 months journey of knocking on doors of more than 25 nonprofits and desperately find any lawyer to help me get asylum that would not cost me an arm and a leg. I would like to point out a few things here from my story. 1, immigrants, who are the most marginalized sections of the society in the sanctuary city like San Francisco, who are desperately trying to seek safety from the abhorrent conditions prevalent in their home countries, more often than not, neither relate to English as their first language, nor the cultural context behind the definition of the word transgender. Secondly, if there is anyone or any resource, people or financial, that can actually make a difference in this journey of providing refuge to our most marginalized sections of humanity, we must not only provide as much visibility we can of those resources, but we also need to empower the transgender community who are fighting to provide safe access to our community from the front lines, not just today, but for as long as humanity has been blessed with us gender expansive beings. Please expend resources to expand the visibility of both the term in the context of transgender and gender expansive realities in as many neighborhoods and locations where we know the trans immigrant populations congregate. Please empower transgender leadership by transgender individuals with capacity expansion training, as well as resource mobilization, so that we can bring in as many people as we can to serve the largest transgender population in the country. Furthermore, while legal resources for transgender safety are of utmost importance, so is the need for providing community resources, mental health resources, food security, housing security, and joy creation. Being transgender should be a celebration, and San Francisco has this unique opportunity to demonstrate to the world how humanity can evolve and this world can change by leading from the front in offering our transgender population as much, if not more, resources and person power that we did to the white cis gay male population in the golden age of the gay liberation struggle. This is absolutely necessary because the momentum of persecution for the transgender community has worsened even more than those faced by our homosexual brothers and sisters, while the standards of resources for refugee mobilization have moved at a far slower pace. This is a report from someone who's been working with this community for more than 6 years as a service provider. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Thank you. So,
one more.
one more, I'll give you 1 more minute, please, if you could please wrap up, because we have another presenter. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
How do you get this show?
How do you get that back up there?
How do we get it back up there?
Thank you. So I wanted to share I will now share our policy recommendations, the 3 pillars of systemic change. The first pillar is funding and infrastructure, dedicated funds for trans-led immigrant orgs, create a trans immigrant hub within OSEA. Pillar 2 is access and integration, multilingual entry points. Spanish, Tagalog, Hindi, Punjabi, Tamil, Bengali, Turkish, Nepali, Khmer, Thai, Lao, Vietnamese. Well-being, the third pillar is well-being and leadership, fund mental health support and crisis-only grants, and include trans immigrant identifiers and city data. We deserve to lead our own solution. Next slide, please. We call on the city and county of San Francisco to invest in trans immigrant leadership, expand access, and fund well-being. People will keep coming here for safety and hope. Let's make that hope real. This is about recognition, restoration, and rightful belonging. Slide, please. Please, the last slide.
This one?
The last slide. The United. No, the last slide.
That's okay.
Today, we ask you to stand together with transgender immigrants to move from awareness to action.
I just want to point out that everything you see in the asterisks was what we recommended 2 years ago, and none of that has happened in the recommendations. So for every Kinnar, every Hijra, every trans immigrant, every Latina trans, the Aravani and the trans Astyli who call San Francisco home, let the sanctuary be a lived promise, not just on paper. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And if you could please share the PowerPoint, be helpful for us to review.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Oh, we have Transgender Immigrant Day on November 18th, and we have a holiday party on December 20th. Come.
Thank you for all.
Please
the
do
work you
come.
do. Thank you. Okay, and next, our last presenter is Executive Director Kinnat Arun and Staff Attorney John Tesoro from LGBT Asylum Project.
Good evening. Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you for being here. Yeah.
My name is Keenan Arun. I will be talking on behalf of John Tesoro as well. I'm the co-executive director for the LGBT Asylum Project, and we're located in Castro. We provide free legal services for LGBT asylum seekers, prioritizing transgender defensive cases, asylum cases. And John Tesoro is our staff attorney, and he's dedicated for transgender defensive cases at immigration court for transgender asylum cases. We have stricter rules for submitting asylum applications. That's one of the problems that we're having. A new court decision says that if your asylum application is missing answers, if they're not signed, or missing required documents, the judge can reject it right away, even before giving you a full hearing. And this means that judges now have freedom to deny cases if the form isn't complete or consistent. So make sure your application is completely filled out, signed, and carefully checked before submitting. And we have challenges about adding new information later. It's another court decision that says if you bring up new reasons for your asylum claim later in the process, the judge can treat it as a new application. And this means that some applicants, especially transgender or gender diverse applicants, may only feel safe enough to talk about certain experiences later, like gender-based violence or persecution due to identity. Unfortunately, if those details weren't included in your first filing, they might not count later. So when preparing the application, please try to include all possible reasons why you're seeking asylum. Even mentioning them briefly helps protect your rights to have them considered. And there is filing fees and payment restrictions. As of 2025, we have a $100 initial filing fee and $100 annual pending fee. And neither of these fees, they may be waived or reduced. Neither of them can be. And they have to be made electronically. It has to be via credit or debit card or wire transfer. And check and money order payments are no longer accepted. So these fees and payment restrictions create additional obstacles for transgender and gender diverse asylum seekers who often experience economic difficulties, housing instability, and lack of access to formal banking. And the inability to pay electronically or to obtain a fee waiver increases the risk of delayed filings and your asylum application not to be filed. And we used to hold bi-monthly clinics specifically for name and gender marker changes. And due to one of the first executive orders, there have been obstacles to changing gender markers. So we had to pivot. And we shifted the clinic's content to know your rights, know your legal rights, particularly around what to do with ICE encounters and legal challenges. But we had a very low attendance because people were scared to show up in person, so we had to provide this information online. And in 2026, we plan to hold informational sessions similar to our legal clinics, but these will be also available for local citizens who want to support their immigrant friends, because many of them say, I have an immigrant friend and I don't know how to help them, or what they need, especially approaching transgender or gender diverse cases. So these sessions will aim to educate allies on how to best support TG and CI immigrant communities. And although we have many people reaching out to us initially, many of them are hesitant to apply for asylum currently because of the restrictions. So previously it was taking a month or two before someone deciding to apply for asylum. Now that decision period is up to 9 months. And we started seeing transgender US citizens from other US states emailing us to be relocated here. This was an increase. We haven't had that before. And we currently refer them out to Office of Transgender Initiatives and sf.gov Center. And we have issues with judges not being available anymore because judges who have had higher approval rates for asylum cases have been removed from their positions in questionable and potentially unlawful ways. And this is one of the significant systemic issues that we're facing. And additionally, although we haven't had direct service cuts, we have experienced budget cuts that could impact our capacity. So we need funding to support appeal cases because it's pretty evident that we will be dealing with appeal cases along with asylum cases. As we're seeing growing need to help clients challenge denials, there will be more denials in the future. We know that for sure. And also we need emergency funds for the fees to help our clients with the initial or the pending fees. We are also planning to create a comprehensive resettlement manual to provide social and practical information to our clients and to our community. This will be a live document. So for this, we're seeking capacity building funds, similar to what we have received previously from city and County of San Francisco in the past. Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you. Thank you for your presentation. Now that we have heard from presenter, fellow commissioners, do you have any questions for the presenters related to the issue impacting San Francisco transgender communities? Please be brief so we can allow time for the public to share their input and what they're seeing on the ground as well. Thank you. Any questions? Commissioner Obregon?
Thank you. And thank you to our presenters. That was very informative. I really appreciate your care and passion and for bringing this issue to us. My question is for anybody who wants to answer, but especially with Honey, you mentioned that there are, although San Francisco has many ways in which they protect the trans community and offer services, there are still some ways in which we can protect or codify laws to expand our sanctuary city that protects trans communities. Can you give me some examples of what we could add to our sanctuary city ordinance that would add further protections to our trans community?
Sure. So a couple of the things that we could do, one actually that was brought up by, I think somebody else tonight, is the requirement of training for city and county employees. The basically the Trans 101 training, for lack of a better term, was required training for city and county employees that was taken off the required list. So we hope to, potentially, that doesn't require legislation. It could be an HR decision to require it for all city and county employees, because the reality is that we do get reported incidents of city and county employees denying trans people access or mistreating trans people, and that's really unfortunate and should never happen. So we want to ensure that we are living up to our sanctuary city status by ensuring that people are treated with dignity and respect, and that our city and county employees are following local laws. The other thing that we could do, again, is codify a sanctuary city ordinance for trans people specifically. Something that could be included in that is, again, reinforcing our commitment to non-discrimination when it comes to housing resources, access to bathrooms, etc. The other thing that would be really important, I think, to look at is ways in which we can ensure that trans people continue to receive access to gender-affirming care, even as we see the attacks from the federal administration on gender-affirming care. So whether that is, ensuring that people who do business with the city and county of San Francisco provide gender-affirming care for their employees or their customers or their clients, and also, of course, for city and county employees, that would be very important. There are also, we've seen this passed with specifically in reference to people who are seeking reproductive care. There are states that would seek to basically take doctors or even prosecute people who receive an abortion who come from out of state, for example. And so we want to make sure that we have those same protections for people who are trans, for people who have trans children, because the reality is that we have seen many folks reach out to us who are actually families with trans children who are afraid that their children are going to get taken away from them in their home states. So these are all things that are possibilities and things that we're hoping to explore with the city attorney's office.
Thank you. Your question? Yes, Commissioner.
Yeah, thank you for everyone for being here today and share your story. So my experience, I just want to have two questions. So on LGBTQ communities, a lot of everyone should not be attacked, right, or discrimination to us. But I have experienced one of my community, the LGBTQ, they're scared to report the crime. So, and they don't want to go to the mental service. This is a problem. So what do you want to supporting them for this? And then another thing is about the healthcare. Have you heard about the AIDS drug assistance program like ADAPT, right? So many people in the LGBTQ community and have been diagnosed with the HIV or are at risk of the AIDS drug assistance program. They offer help with the HIV medication and healthcare benefit. Even sometimes you don't have job, they offer you for the housing too in San Francisco. This you should read out your family or your nonprofit or organization and your primary doctor, and then what we can help them. What do you think? Yeah.
Okay, I'm not sure I quite understood that last question, but I'll, can you rephrase it?
So a lot of LGBTQ community, when they find out they have a risk for the HIV, right? And then we, in San Francisco, we have like a DAP program,
Oh,
like
ADAP,
a
yeah.
drug assistant, right? So many people doesn't know. That's why they have to live with the homeless or they don't want to go to the healthcare. So what should we helping them with?
I think outreach definitely is a problem for sure. But you know, I think that the reality is that there are systemic barriers to people accessing services. Some of those are because those individuals have not necessarily had a great relationship with authority. And so they fear that if they engage with authority, you know, that they could be punished. Again, especially for immigrants, I think there is a real distrust right now in what we're seeing of, you know, showing up to, you know, events specifically for immigrants, for example, or when the government is involved. There's a real fear in accessing services. And that's true for the trans community in general, because I think that there has been a lot of, you know, trans people have been incarcerated or, you know, in the past there have been anti-trans laws. People oftentimes experience discrimination or microaggressions when they're already facing a lot of other again, barriers to accessing services. So I think, you know, one of the ways in which we can improve that is by ensuring that those services are more welcoming to trans people specifically. And we do that through training. You know, the Office of Transgender Initiatives does offer trainings, not just to city and county departments, but we also offer trainings to CBOs. Specifically, we did a real effort to do training with the City and County of San Francisco's housing partners to ensure that when people are, you know, exiting homelessness, getting access to housing, that they that the people who meet them there are actually appropriately trained to be able to welcome them. So those are the kinds of things that I think can really make a difference in ensuring that trans people are able to access services. But also, of course, a big part of that is funding, because if you don't fund the outreach campaigns, the street outreach, in order to let people know that those services exist, then they'll never hear about it and they'll never be able to access it.
I'd like to add something. Okay.
Thank
I
you.
think fundamentally underrepresentation of trans immigrant leadership in the funded organizations, it's key. The second is language access. Trans immigrants speak a variety of languages, and when you try to access healthcare or you have the fear of cops or system and the injustice that's being, you know, not all the way from the top of the courts in this world, in this country, when marriage protections are in place, but our passports are no longer valid.
Thank you. Commissioner Wong?
Yes. I have 2 points. The first is, we have a language access ordinance.
Yes.
Is there some way that we can address her issue? Is through the language access ordinance in terms of using that ordinance to reach out to folks in this community?
We're actually going to have an update on, you know, LAO today, later this meeting, and we can talk more about the process on how the public can engage and report issues around services and access. So,
okay. My second point is a question for Honey. I'm sorry, I don't know this, but in city buildings, because there are a lot of city buildings, is there a requirement that there be gender neutral restrooms in every city building?
Yes.
And do they exist?
I believe so, although, I mean, the ordinance is there. I haven't checked. I'm not sure what the status is of every city building, but the ordinance is there and people can report if there is not access.
What about contractors? Folks who have contracts with agencies, who have contracts with the city, are they required to have gender neutral restrooms in their facilities?
In the city and county of San Francisco, we do actually have an ordinance that requires when there are single stall restrooms that at least one of them be gender neutral. So we do have that law or a law that would apply.
So we do have the law, but we do not know how well or if the law is implemented.
We're not, I don't know if there's a survey that's been done. Maybe that's something that we can work on, is doing a survey of those bathrooms. But I just want to be clear that people here in the city and county of San Francisco also have the right to self-select into the bathrooms. So people should never be denied access to bathrooms.
Thank you. And then Vice President, Vice Chair.
Thank you. My question is actually to the Executive Director, Honey Mahogany. My question is that we all know that city has announced supplemental funding for legal services, and legal services continues to be a hard one for immigrants in general. So I wanted to know, is your office advocating for funds for legal services for trans immigrants? Because there is a huge gap between, what's available and whether they have the opportunity to access those funds and access legal services as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the LGBTQ Asylum Project really spoke to this, Parvar as well. There has been, traditionally, we have done, for example, name and gender change clinics, and funding for that has gone down, but certainly demand has not. In fact, if anything, it's increased because people are rushing to get their documents done before they can no longer change them. So those are things that we continue to advocate for through the budget process, that they be funded.
Thank you. And then next, Hans Hau, Commissioner.
Yeah, thank you. This is more of a question for CBOs. I know in reference to Vice Chair's reference to the budget supplemental introduced by Board of Supervisors to fund immigration legal services. I'm just curious how much of that funding, if it is approved, does get to all of the CBOs that we are hearing from tonight, right? Knowing that trans immigrants need access to both affirmative and defensive immigration legal services that are aligned to that gender identity, that are culturally appropriate. So I do wonder, is there a way for us to make recommendations that are centering trans voices in this moment? And a specific question to the CBOs when it comes to funding that you are looking to either restore or increase. Are there specific city funding that you can potentially name as this body engage in advocacy to bring some of those recommendations?
I don't think we need to reinvent the wheel. A lot of money goes to immigrant organizations that don't have affirming and accessible services or leadership or people that can serve trans immigrants. That has been the #1 issue. When there's convenings, there's coalitions showing up in front of City Hall, from that all the way to one-on-one cases. So what happens is trans folks, like the story of Kay, she paid $13,000 to a legal attorney. And that's by the time they sign the retainer, it's too late. The second is specific to what we have said here in our own journeys. Trans-led and trans-centering organizations need to have capacity building. So I think it would begin with, all the departments, but you all are here with IRC and OSEA. So it would really be helping build capacity for trans-led organizations to not only receive funding, but also have the capacity to sustain it and be able to have trans on either side and be able to propel that. The final thing I'll say is it's the responsibility of city departments, perhaps OSEA, to bring trans organizations together, because our struggles are real. There's only so much we can do, and we're always, almost all of us, and I'm speaking for Sophia with Ella as well, scraping the bottom. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions?
I have one more question. I think Kaden wanted to say something.
Oh, please.
Thank you. I was going to answer the question. We currently have a collaborative grant that we're working with Ella para Trans Latinas. It's funded by OSEA. It's Transgender Defensive Asylum Case Grant, and it's capped with 17 cases. So we would like to revisit that to increase the capacity so that we would have more cases. So that's the current grant that we have in place.
Thank you. And then one more question for Commissioner Obregon.
Yes. My question is for Sophia. You spoke about access to healthcare as an immigrant, and I'm wondering if you could describe a little bit of what is the pathway as a new immigrant to access, or a missing pathway, of when someone is newly arrived and seeking healthcare, whether it's for HIV services or gender affirming care or mental health, what is the pathway for someone newly arrived in San Francisco to access those things?
Okay, thank you, Lucia, Commissioner Obregon, thanks for asking this question. As an immigrant, as a lot of us, as myself, when I just arrived to the city of San Francisco, I was lost on how to get access for health, for health insurance. What we see right now and what my colleagues have been talking about as well is that the barrier in language, that's one of the things. Also that a lot of us, we don't, I'm gonna say this in Spanish. Muchas veces lo que pasa es que llegamos a la ciudad y nos encontramos con que no sabemos navegar el sistema.
Many times what happens is that when we come to the city, we don't know how to navigate the system.
Entonces, tenemos organizaciones que nos pueden ayudar. Una de ellas es la de nosotras, en la para Latinas.
So we look for organizations like ours to get help, and that is Ella para Trans Latinas.
Pero desafortunadamente, como ya lo mencionamos, los fondos no son tan accesibles y de igual manera no es tan accesible para las comunidades migrantes.
But like we said before, the funds are not really as accessible to us nor to immigrant communities.
De igual manera, muchas de ellas están inscritas en Medicaid, pero sabiendo con las nuevas leyes que están surgiendo, sabemos que muchas de ellas están quedando fuera porque simplemente no tienen un documento para demostrar que son elegibles para ese seguro médico.
And many of them are signed up with Medicaid, but they realize that because they lack a document, they cannot really receive these services.
Y de igual manera, para las personas que viven con VIH, estaban mencionando ADAP, pero desafortunadamente también hay un desabasto por ese lado.
And also for people that live with HIV, there is ADAP, but there's also a lack of funding for that as well.
Espero que haya contestado la pregunta.
I hope I have answered your question.
Gracias. Commissioner Farah?
I just wanted to add one thing. There have been 3 questions that have been asked. One was about LGBTQ folks seeking drug. You were just talking about insurance, and you talked about language. One of the key elements that combines all these three things is trust building. If I arrive at the shore of this country, I am already saddled by the complicated machinery that is immigration. I need folks to actually start seeing me. So it is not solution based on the problem, but is actually creating sanctuary organizations like Parivar, which creates trust, which then will be an important point of contact for all these pieces of information that actually are affirming for trans life. And that is really critical, that we don't solve this problem in a single question and answer way, but actually a holistic way to develop trust among the community with organizations like Parivar. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Farah.
Yeah, first want to start off by just thanking the community. Thank you, Honey, for being here. Thank you, Parivar, and all the speakers. My question might be a little bit technical, so if we don't have the answer for it today, happy to do the research outside But just wondering, are there any bills, executive orders, or legislation that would be considered harmful to this community that the commission should be aware of, locally specifically?
Parivar works at the California state level, and we can say that there were bills that did not pass. As most of you know, they were vetoed by the governor. Those bills also apply here. And I think one of the things, as Honey shared, the Trans 101 training not being mandatory, that came out of an ordinance that doesn't hold water anymore because of all the changes at the federal level. There are bills that are passing at the state level that would be very affirming to pass. So to answer your question in inverse, I think there's bills that can further affirm and protect trans folks, right, in the city, because as I said last hearing, the sanctuary city, the transgender sanctuary thing is just a resolution. It doesn't hold water for folks to be detained, and we have seen that experience ourselves. But a bill would be like what the governor passed to dedicate $50 million to vulnerable populations, specifically for immigrants, and $5 million of that was dedicated to LGBTQ communities. And I personally advocated and got organizations in the city to be able to do those legal services. Now, how much of that goes to trans immigrants? That's the question. And San Francisco has a prime opportunity to pass a bill where there's dedicated funding, that actually goes to trans immigrants.
Thank you. I have one question for Director Mahagni, and then I'll go to public comment. I have a question about, homelessness and how it's affecting our transgender community, and what are the initiatives in place to ensure that we're addressing this issue, particular for this population, to ensure that, we're not ignoring the acute need in this community.
Yeah, I mean, I do want to give credit to Shane and Anjali from our office who worked on the ADA trainings, which were the trainings that I referred to earlier. We're making sure that service providers are culturally competent and are able to serve transgender people in a way that shows them respect and with dignity. The other thing is, there's specific funding that has been set aside specifically for women and trans people through housing subsidies. And so a lot of that can be accessed through HSH. They're partnering with organizations like TGIJP and also Community Forward, specifically to ensure that we are reducing disparities in access to rental subsidies, specifically for the trans community. We also have, there are several projects out there. Some of these I think we need to be a little bit discreet about in order to protect people's privacy. But, there are projects out there that are specifically targeting ending trans homelessness for the trans community.
Thank you so much for all the great work you're doing. Appreciate it. Appreciate all the presentations. So now I'm going to move to public comment. Do we have? Jesse had one, right? Oh, Jesse. Yeah. Okay, Jesse, please.
A mí me gustaría, hemos hablado de lo que es el cuidado médico, también ¿cómo podemos hacer nosotros o las organizaciones? Porque en las calles tenemos muchas mujeres trans y muchos hombres trans que no tienen cuidados médicos. Como organizaciones, ¿cómo apoyan o cómo apoyamos a esta población que vive en las calles? ¿Quién gusta responder la pregunta?
I have a question. We've talked a lot about healthcare, and my question is, what can organizations do? What can we do to support organizations that work with men and women who are out there without any healthcare? What can we do?
Well, I would just say that, the city and county of San Francisco does have Healthy San Francisco, which is, emergency healthcare basically for people who otherwise wouldn't have it. And so there's ways in which we could look at expanding that healthcare to ensure that people have access. That's also, maybe looking at Healthy San Francisco to see if, we could guarantee gender affirming care for those who may get knocked off their Medicaid, who may, or Medicare as these cuts come through. And also those organizations or hospitals that are no longer able to provide gender affirming care, if it's no longer covered by insurance, for example, national insurance. Perhaps the city and county of San Francisco could look at whether Healthy SF potentially could cover gender affirming care. And the reality is, especially for prescriptions like hormone therapy, that's actually something that's very cheap and would not, I think, be a huge burden on the city and county of San Francisco.
Thank you. Okay, so now moving to public comment. Okay, looking forward to this moment. Each public member will have 2 minutes to address the commission. We have any public comment?
2 minutes, gosh.
And thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. Azin Zia Ibrahimi. One thing that's sort of standing out from everything I've heard everybody else say prior, I feel like RBG is kind of giving everybody side eye right now. I'm hearing codify. We need to put some barricades up so we're not going backwards, and that's what we're kind of dealing with, the ramifications, obviously, of what's happening at the Fed level. That being said, also, if I think about equity globally, and we look at the footprint that this border state has on the global south in particular, equity would mean that we are investing in people that are fleeing our antagonistic posturing globally. That is equity going, okay, we're doing the damage. Now here is some reciprocity for the damage that we've done. So if we don't do anything here, but we're claiming sanctuary, that's performative. That's virtue posturing. It doesn't really add up to much in the end. And we're delivering a false deliverable, and that's politics. That's pandering, and that feels very tawdry. And yeah, sorry.
Thank you. Next, please.
Hello, my name is Leah McGeever. I am transgender as well. It's just my feelings. So for the homeless population, in the past couple of years, transgender people have made up about 4 to 5% of that, and it has gone up to 9% of the homeless population. So, I mean, we really cannot ignore intersectionality when it comes to transgender justice, because transgender people, like, employment discrimination is very real and very severe. So they cannot afford anything should they move here thinking that this is a sanctuary city for them. And it feels like a trap to say it is when they can't get employed here. Well, I can't get employed here. Can't get employed here, can't pay for bills, can't pay for housing. So then that is how people end up homeless. Except the nation is just becoming more and more hostile and dangerous and violent towards trans people. An example of just the trap that San Francisco has set is there was a program that did help Black and Brown, very poor trans people, trans women in particular, called the GIFT program. It was successful. It provided a monthly basic income for trans people, and it lifted the quality of life for these people. Last year, a couple conservative groups challenged it, and the city decided to settle and to permanently ban any basic income program for Black or Latin or trans people. So then I spent the beginning of the year trying to figure out, trying to work with nonprofits, specifically Latin nonprofits that you are very well aware of. How can we work around and resurrect this program? Because trans people are a part of the community. We aren't dividing ourselves out, you are. You need to start treating us as a part of your community and start being proactive in defending us.
Thank you. Next, please.
Hi, good evening, Madam Chair and Commissioners. This is probably not on your agenda, but I just want to talk about Commissioner Jesse Reed's organization, nonprofit organization. Probably don't know. But look, can I continue in Spanish?
Yes.
Okay. So solamente quiero hablar un poco acerca de la organización. Es una organización sin fines de lucro y en la cual soy voluntario. Y hemos estado trabajando en el poco tiempo que ha estado operando sin ningún fondo, solamente con donaciones del público. Es importante mencionar que es toda la comunidad LGBT que necesita el apoyo se una y se acerquen a nosotros también, porque unidos podemos lograr más.
Gracias.
I just wanted to mention that I volunteer for an organization that's nonprofit. We don't get any funds. We survive just on donations from the public. But I'm asking all LGBTQ people who are affected by all of these things to come seek us out and to unite, because we can do this if we work together.
Thank you. Next, please.
Hola, buenas noches. Mi nombre es Verónica. Mi pregunta es, por ejemplo, yo soy una persona inmigrante desde el 87, llegué a este país y hasta la fecha pues no he tenido un estatus legal. Pero mi pregunta es sobre los servicios que ofrecen las organizaciones que dicen que participamos en los grupos de organizaciones que hay latinas y en realidad no nos están ayudando. Y la otra cuestión es de que, desgraciadamente, como yo soy una persona adulta con varias enfermedades, tengo que acudir a una organización que apenas está empezando, que es la organización de Jesse Ruiz, que es la única que me está auxiliando en mis casos de emergencia, porque padezco de varias enfermedades. Y sobre mi estatus, tengo que estar informada porque tengo mucho miedo salir a la calle, hacer cualquier actividad, porque tengo el pavor de que me arresten por ser una persona ilegal en este país. Y referente a la organización, todavía no sé qué hacer con mi vida. Y como soy una persona que está diagnosticada también con ansiedad postraumática, varias veces he tenido la necesidad o el miedo de quererme hacerme daño a mí misma por la misma cuestión de que no encuentro una salida y mi salud cada vez está más decayendo. Esa era mi pregunta. Gracias.
Hi, good evening. My name is Veronica. I'm an immigrant who's been here since 1987 and without status. And my question was about a lot of these organizations that serve specifically the Latino community, but are not necessarily helping, unfortunately. I'm a person with many illnesses, and the only help I've been receiving has been from Jesse Reese's organization. And I'm very stressed out. I'm very afraid of being out in the street and potentially being arrested. And I think a lot about what am I going to do with my life? I have been diagnosed with PTSD. I have considered hurting myself because I don't see a way out. And so my question was about who can provide assistance to someone like me.
Thank you. We're not supposed to engage with public comment, but we're happy to share some information with you around city resources available. Thank you. Next, please. Thank you.
Buenas noches a todos. Mi nombre es Morelia Saucedo. Soy una mujer migrante trans y yo tengo 2 años en este país. Estoy recién aquí en San Francisco. La verdad, llegué muy temerosa. Cuando pasé la frontera, fui violada por los que te ayudaban a pasar. Llego a San Francisco y soy acogida por una asociación trans para mujeres translatinas. Me apoyó hasta el día de hoy me han apoyado. Y la verdad, estoy aquí, es la primera vez que estoy en este lugar y me acerco a que ustedes como personas, seres humanos, se acerquen más a la comunidad trans, porque hay muchas necesidades, demasiadas, sobre todo de trabajo. Hoy tengo un trabajo gracias a un permiso, porque a eso vengo, a sobresalir como mujer trans. Entonces, habemos muchas que por nuestro aspecto, a mí toqué muchas puertas y esas puertas se me cerraron por verme que era yo una mujer trans. Hoy tengo un trabajo, a eso vine. Quiero que ser una mujer productiva para este país, para esta ciudad que me ha acogido, San Francisco, y quiero agradecer en verdad a esta asociación trans latina, Elas para Trans Latina, que me acogió de corazón, me ha apoyado mucho a mi persona, porque me han ayudado. Veo que hay más organizaciones, más hermanas de otros países que están luchando por los mismos derechos, y eso para mí es muy bueno. Me siento más acogida porque sé que habemos más mujeres que estamos pidiendo apoyo, que es muy importante para nosotras como mujeres migrantes. Gracias.
Gracias.
Perdón, ¿su nombre de nuevo? Morelia. Hi, my name is Morelia Saucedo. I'm a trans immigrant woman. I've been here for 2 years, and I have been very afraid since then. I was raped by the people who help you cross the border. But after arriving here in San Francisco, I was supported and welcomed by the La Trans Latina organization. And this is my first time here, but I want to ask all of you as human beings to approach the trans community, get closer to them so that you can understand the needs that we have. I just got back from work, and that's why I came here, right? Because I want to be able to move forward and be a productive woman for this country and for this city. But unfortunately, a lot of times, whenever I would seek employment, the doors were shut as they saw me as a trans woman. But despite all of that, La Trans Latina has always supported me. And I see that there are other organizations here that are also fighting for those same rights. So I just want to invite you to continue working on these issues. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, please.
My name is Beverly. I'm a trans woman. I'm a US citizen. My mother is a naturalized immigrant, and I am an organizer in San Francisco. One of the things that has come up for preserving trans healthcare in this era, where they attack funding and insurance coverage, is deinstitutionalization of gender-affirming care. So moving from large hospitals to small clinics or even doctors' living rooms. My doctor who gives me hormones has promised that no matter what the legal landscape is, because estrogen is not a controlled substance, she will prescribe it to me from her living room. So I ask that the commission be aware of this reality and this trend and work to remove barriers to that happening. In particular, transgender surgeries tend to be very invasive major surgeries, so they need resources like operating rooms and emergency care that are typically found at hospitals. But if there is a way to provide those services safely, but without the institutional vulnerability that comes up when you're tied to a hospital physically and legally, that would be an important way to ensure that all gender-affirming care continues to be accessible in the city. The second topic I wanted to bring up briefly was just the prevention of detention of transgender immigrants by ICE. While we were preparing for the invasion of San Francisco, which we thankfully was averted, one topic that came up was just the increased stakes for trans immigrants when detained. There has been that complaint recently of trans men being subjected to demeaning forced labor without compensation, without adequate personal protective equipment, and with intentional humiliation by the prison staff. This is at the federal level. Trans women tend to face sexual assault in detention. Federally, I'm not quite so sure this is for immigration, but there is a practice of V-coding, which every member of the commission should be aware of. It violates and mocks.
Thank you. Thank you for
Yes.
this comment.
Okay,
Appreciate
thank you.
it. Thank you. Next, please. Thanks.
Hola, muy buenas tardes, noches ya. Mi nombre es Atlántida Antonella. Agradezco también a muchas de las organizaciones a las que por la cual he acudido también de forma inusual y también en muchos casos que me han apoyado y me han ayudado mucho, bastante también. Y solamente quisiera saber si en este caso, en el que todas estamos casi unidas en el mismo, en la misma cadena, se podrá decir, y que tenemos la misma necesidad de que muchas por la cual estamos pasando por procesos de migración y por muchas faltas de viviendas o de ayudas por las cirugías o por muchas cosas más, estoy un poco nervioso, pero a lo que yo quiero expresarme es que habemos muchas que todavía estamos en este mismo proceso, en esta misma lucha. Quisiera que pues nos tomaran un poco más en cuenta para que nos pudieran ayudar, aparte de con lo de las cirugías y otros apoyos que la verdad muchas de las transgéneros estamos sufriendo en estos tiempos. Y más ahorita en estas crisis que por lo de migración y por los cambios de gobierno se está sufriendo en estos tiempos. Mi nombre es Atlántida Antonella.
Hi, good evening. My name is Antonella, and I want to thank all the organizations that I see here. I have received support from some of them, and it's good to know that we are all united in this same link, the same chain, and we have the same needs. But a lot of us are going through immigration process. At the same time, we lack housing. We're seeking care and surgeries. And a lot of us are struggling. And so I want you to consider how you can see us and how you can help us. Because we are suffering due to the change in government and the different policies.
Thank you. Next, please.
Good evening, everybody. I'm so happy because we are well represented by Jesse Ruiz. I'm so happy for that. Thank you for being inclusive. And I want to, thank you. I want to just share 2 comments. And one of them is many of the trans people are waiting in San Francisco for their asylum process. So meanwhile, how the city of San Francisco can support our trans community. For instance, like last year, when Brie London was the mayor here in San Francisco, there was an emergency income program for trans people that was or is in low income or also with disabilities. Is one example where that emergency programs can help people that is waiting for the asylum process. And the other comment is how can the San Francisco create like, for instance, more employment opportunities for trans people without experience. When people are here in San Francisco, like asylum seekers, sometimes people don't have experience. And when they are looking for a job, sometimes the jobs opportunities are denied because they don't have opportunities. So I would just suggest to the city to create like internships for trans women in order to support the people and develop the talent and also to get more work experience. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, public commenter.
I just want to say something real quick, and it's
not so much, well, yeah, it involves the commission, but everyone else in the room. I think it's an uncomfortable, inconvenient truth on who hates or who prevents trans people from advancing, and that's usually people within the same ethnicity and cultural backgrounds as us. I'll say that majority of my hate is from Asians who happen to be cisgender, and other minorities, less so from white folks. And it's an uncomfortable truth that we need to address. Everyone in here is a minority, I believe. We have our own families that we have to deal with who are transphobic. And it doesn't just always work in this room, it's when you get home as well, to understand that you have family members who are trans, but at the same time, you have family members who will cut their heads off for being trans. And that's a really inconvenient truth for everyone to understand that when immigrants come here, that's the reality they're facing from their own cultural and ethnicity background. And another thing I wanted to mention is that we, at part of our have Tulare, which is a low bono trans immigrant or immigrants LGBT to come and get assistance for legal services as well. And thank you so much.
Thank you. Next, come.
Hi, good evening. My name's Annie Seen, and I'm the founder of Asian American Alliance Against Racism, and I'm also the retired city and county of San Francisco Human Services Agency for 20 years. So I'm able to answer a lot of the questions here, but I need more than 2 minutes. I want to address my own problem today. My mission of coming here tonight is, over the weekend, I met a very nice man. He speaks perfect English. He's married to a US citizen for 3 years. He is undocumented, and he is due back for his hearing on December 4th for immigration. I am afraid for him. I told him, don't go. But I don't know how to help him. I want to be able to find some answers so I could bring it back to him tonight. I mean, 2 weeks is coming, December 4th is 2 weeks. So I need some help so I don't want to see him being deported. I mean, he's working, married, and all that. So I want, hopefully tonight somebody will be able to give me some answer that I will be able to bring it back to him and save him. I mean, ICE is going to be here. They are here, but then just quickly. But they're going to attack us next month. That's what Daniel Lowry could do, our mayor. I mean, I appreciate what he did, but we need more than that. And so please help me so I can help my client. And to address all the...
Thank you for your comment. We can follow up with you after the meeting.
Okay, but I want to answer all
We're not supposed to engage with public commenters. Thank you for your comment. Thank you. Yes.
I just want to be quick and say thank you for having this hearing, but I really, really impress upon you to not further the scarcity mindset that is created for every trans immigrant. You can come here, you don't speak our language, you can stay here. Please stop that. And please engage with us because you have really welcomed us and helped us really have an opportunity to share, but also setting a scarcity mindset of how many minutes we have, how much we have. This is an ongoing conversation. We can sit with you and tell you our stories for hours. Start with a community focus group. Engage us. Focus on us. Be intentional, not a hearing that comes back another 2 years again. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Anyone else for public comment? Okay, I will conclude the public comment portion, and I will pass it to Commissioner Ruiz if you have any closing remarks, and then I'll pass it to Director Rivas.
Solamente quiero decir gracias a todos y a todas por venir el día de hoy. Yo sueño con ese futuro, con una ciudad y un país donde podamos vivir plenamente sin pedir permiso.
I want to thank everybody for coming today. I'm happy that we live in a country
Lo
where...
leí mal, perdón.
Perdón.
Sí, lo leí mal, perdón. Gracias a todos nuevamente, perdón. Hoy hemos compartido nuestras historias, nuestras luchas, también nuestras esperanzas. Cada una de nosotros está aquí porque se ha negado a rendirse, porque cree en un futuro donde ser trans, ser inmigrante y ser diferente no significa tener miedo. Y sueño con un futuro, con una ciudad y un país donde podamos vivir plenamente sin pedir permiso para existir. Porque la libertad para ser quien queremos ser no debería ser un acto de valentía, debería ser un acto de valentía, debería ser simplemente un derecho que merecemos todas las personas, mujeres trans y los hombres trans. Gracias.
I want to thank you, all of you for coming, but I want to also make sure that we stay focused with the fight and the hope that we want to inspire. The future that I have in this country is something that I am not really allowed to have at this moment. So I am asking that we find a way that we can enhance the rights of trans people so that we can live in peace. Thank you.
Thank you. Director Rivas?
Thank you. If I may, through the chair, I just want to take a moment to extend a special thank you to Commissioner Ruiz for leading this important topic and helping bring together such a thoughtful, informative group of presenters, especially during this month of November, which is Trans Awareness Month. Thank you all to the presenters for sharing their expertise, their experiences, and their advocacy this evening. Your insights have given us a deeper understanding of how federal immigration policies continue to shape the lives of our transgender and gender diverse immigrants here in San Francisco. The Immigrant Rights Commission and OCA will continue to listen, to learn, and to uplift the voices of those most impacted. We take this seriously in our role at advising the city and the county of San Francisco on policies that reflect compassion, respect, and inclusion for all immigrants, including our transgender and gender diverse neighbors. So on behalf of the city, I want to thank all our speakers once again, and as well as the community organizations, the city partners who continue to lead with courage and care. I also want to thank everybody who provided public comment and testimony tonight. And thank you as well to the OCS staff for all the preparation, coordination behind the scenes to make today possible. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Director Rivas. I also want to extend thank you on behalf of the Immigrant Rights Commission to Commissioner Ruiz. Your thoughtfulness and commitment to transgender communities, and bringing intersectional perspective on the issues affecting them around housing, economic development, mental health, and sanctuary, and what does that mean for the community, really illuminating those issues. And most important, their humanity. I think that's what we heard today over and over again and again. So I just want to thank you for that. And also thank all the speakers, city departments and community organizations. Thank you, Director Rivas, OCS staff, Clerk Shore, everyone who, contribute to this hearing, and also to my fellow commissioners for your thoughtful questions. And we look forward to continue the engagement of this topic at the Executive Committee on Thursday. So concluding that part, I will move to conclusion of this item, item 5, special hearing. And again, thank you everyone for contributing, and look forward to next steps and discussing our possible recommendations for this topic. Okay, so item 6, and thank you to all the public commenters. Okay, item 6, action item, approval of minutes, previous minutes. So today we'll be asking to approve full commission meetings of minutes of September 8th, 2025 and October 27th, 2025. Do I have a motion to approve both minutes for both days? Commissioner Obregon?
Second.
Commissioner Farah, second. Do we have public comment on the approval of the previous minutes? I don't see any public comment. Clerk Shore, could you please call the roll?
Yes. Chair Sousa?
Yes.
Chair Sousa, yes. Commissioner Algeron?
Yes.
Commissioner Algeron, yes. Commissioner Farah?
Yes.
Commissioner Farah, yes. Commissioner Howe?
Yes.
Commissioner Howe, yes. Commissioner Kennelly?
Yes.
Commissioner Kennelly, yes. Commissioner Ung?
Yes.
Commissioner Ung, yes. Commissioner Obregon?
Yes.
Commissioner Obregon, yes. Commissioner Padilla?
Yes.
Commissioner Padilla, yes. Commissioner Paz?
Yes.
Commissioner Paz, yes. Commissioner Ratanapakti?
Yes.
Commissioner Ratanapakti, yes. Commissioner Ruiz?
Yes.
Commissioner Ruiz, yes. Commissioner Traore?
Yes.
Commissioner Traore, yes. Commissioner Wang?
Yes.
Thank you. The minutes have been approved.
Thank you, Clerk Shore. Now we're going to move to item 7, Language Access Quarterly Complaint Report, OSEA's Language Access and Policy Manager, Ana de Caroles. Please.
Thank you so much. Good evening, Chair Souza. Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Ana de Caroles. I am the Language Access and Policy Manager at OSEA, and I am here with you this evening to present the Language Access Complaint Report for the past quarter. The Language Access Ordinance, or LAO, requires that OSEA provide quarterly reports to the Immigrant Rights Commission regarding the language access complaints received by our office. Working with complaints is just one of many ways that OSEA advances language access in San Francisco. OSEA provides training, technical assistance, and one-on-one consultations with city departments to help them comply with the LAO. OSEA provides grant making, carries out annual compliance data analysis and reporting on language access, and more. OSEA's Language Access Unit also provides supplementary language service support to city departments, boards, and commissions upon request and based on capacity. Today, I will be presenting the language access complaints covering July through September 2025. OSEA received and closed 5 language access complaints this reporting period. In addition, OSEA closed 3 complaints that were received during the later part of the previous reporting period. To summarize these complaints, the language access complaint investigations completed during this period included lack of translation of a department on the status of women newsletter, telephonic interpretation quality issues at a rent board hearing, and lack of language assistance at the homelessness and supportive housing headquarters. All departments and vendors were very responsive in working with OSEA to resolve these complaints. The summary reports of these investigations include specific findings and recommendations for improvement. Finally, we provided a recommendation to the San Francisco Police Department on a complaint the Department of Police Accountability received regarding involving lack of translation of a telephonic message for one of SFPD's specialized unit. OSEA's team of language specialists has been working with the SFPD to get that voicemail translated. In the interest of time, I will not go over each complaint today in detail, but I will provide a summary of trends and an analysis. The LAO complaints received this past quarter highlight the importance of 1, training and periodic reminders to all public-facing personnel about language access requirements and department protocols for language service provision. 2, developing and updating departmental language access protocols. 3, translated into the city's required languages and into any language by request, digital content that constitutes vital information, is of public interest, or contains information that affects the community. And 4, training and dissemination of best practices for working with interpreters, including potential indicators of interpreter performance issues and how to intervene. OSEA will continue to engage with departments through technical assistance tools, periodic reminders, and training on these and other best practices. I will conclude by mentioning that we continue to see an upward trend in the number of complaints received compared to the same period last year. This is likely due to OSEA's enhanced outreach and increased public awareness related to the LAO amendments passed last year. We welcome this trend toward greater LAO accountability as we underscore a continued need for additional capacity for OSEA to fulfill its enhanced complaint investigation and reporting requirements, as well as to support department compliance through training and technical assistance. The summary investigative report for the complaints closed last quarter is available for the Commission and the public to view on today's agenda and on OSEA's website. I will be pleased to come back before this Commission early next year with more information on language access compliance, recommendations, and next steps on LAO implementation. With this, I will conclude my presentation, and I am happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. Do you have any questions? Any questions? Commissioner Obregon.
I always have questions.
Thank you so much for the report. I see that on the status of every complaint, it says closed. And then when I look at the summary, I do see like your recommendations around policy. But I'm wondering if every complaint that is closed, did that person get what they need, right? Was it an outcome that was favorable to them? I'm interested in knowing, I guess, if every complaint receives a favorable event, because it says closed, but I don't know what that means for that person.
Thank you so much, Commissioner, for that question. That's a great question. And we, when we close a complaint, we always strive to communicate both with the individual who filed the complaint as well as with the departments. My goal is always to provide a summary of the actions taken by the department to the individual who made the complaint. And then to ask if there's any follow-up or if they have any questions, if we can further support. There is a space in the complaint form for members of the public to tell us what's their desired outcome. And we always work with the community member and the department to make sure that that is addressed as best as possible, as well as to look at recommendations to improve the language access issue and prevent it from happening in the future.
Any other questions?
I have a question.
Yes.
So your language access audience, right? You accept all the clients and the victims to everyone in San Francisco, right?
Excuse me, would you mind repeating the question? I'm sorry.
I mean, like language access audience, you're providing for all the San Franciscan.
Absolutely.
Undocumented, even the US citizens, is that right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, but in the last comment, we heard about a lot of people have a problem about they live in fear, right? Undocumented, and then they have like emergency. I know they should not have a comment with that, but one of them have a PTSD, but they don't know how to go to language service access to the healthcare. So, and the second person have a rape when he entered to our country, right? Or they can apply for the U visa. This is I want to brought up because people need emergency help right now. So what we can do, like make they know, acknowledge about, they can get the language access audience, right? Or when they go to the hospital healthcare, they have what do you call it, translator on the phone. You have to ask and talking to the primary doctor or like a Health San Francisco hospital, they accept all the Franciscan who live in San Francisco, even you have a paper or no paper and document. So what we can do to advocate to them.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Commissioner, for your question. The language access ordinance requires all city departments who provide information or services to the public to provide interpretation or translation to anyone who is limited English proficient. Anyone has the right to file a complaint with OSEA if they believe they did not receive adequate language access services from a city department. We look into every complaint we receive and we follow up.
Thank you. And also one of them can apply for U visa. We need a legal service for them too, right? Yeah.
Director Rivas.
If I may, right through the chair, I think it was very clear what Anna just shared, but just to be clear, the LAO, Language Access Ordinance, does not apply blanketly to community-based organizations. It applies to city departments. So sometimes when we hear from community that they did not receive a service in language from a community organization, we have to do a deeper investigation because normally it does not apply blanketly to CBO partners or contractors. So I think, anyhow, but we're happy to look further into it if there's a complaint that is filed with us and we can identify who was providing the service.
That's why we have to explain to the nonprofit, like today they represent to us. They don't know how to get the service from the city of San Francisco. Like victim of crime, right? We have a San Francisco for the mayor office. They have a victim of crime too. So people need help, right? And they should know what they should get receive the service from us. Yeah.
We're happy to share a comment with the Mayor's Office of Victim Services, so they are aware that there's a need in the immigrant community for their services in their language.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Ng? Or Commissioner Ng first? Yeah, he was first. Go ahead, Commissioner. Yeah.
Okay.
And then I'll go with you.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Anna. Thank you, CRS team, for compiling this very comprehensive report. Appreciate all the recommendation you have listed out here. I just have a question regarding complaint number 5, regarding San Francisco Police Department. I was kind of wondering, because I feel like the recommendation was very short and there wasn't any like back and forward, communication being documented here from SF Police Department. So kind of wondering, seems like this is an issue regarding a manual phone tree where the public had said that there wasn't any, interpretation provided in the automatic language, in the phone tree. I was kind of wondering, if there's any documented way from SFPD in terms of how they're going to improve it. It's not necessary for one particular phone tree, but maybe for the department, for them to review the policy as a general. For example, if they have other unit that are currently not being provided those services, could we actually have them, have it rectified here, document here, and just kind of wondering any recommendation for that department in particular, for a way that they can improve it. So it's just not a piecemeal policy right now. We solve this particular line, but in general for that entire department.
Thank you so much, Commissioner, for your question. So generally speaking, the Department of Police Accountability is the entity that gathers and investigates complaints regarding the San Francisco Police Department. It is my understanding that they have been doing work with the department around their general order and providing recommendation as well. In this specific case, for this complaint, we provide a recommendation to the DPA, to the Department of Police Accountability, around this specific complaint that was related to the requirements per the LAO around translating multilingual phone messages. So we provide a recommendation that the LAO does require departments to translate their voicemails. And then our team is working with the SFPD to provide translation support for this voicemail.
Thank you. Commissioner Wong?
My question is about technology. There's all this new technology. I'm very old. I don't understand the new technology. But there's this new technology where you wear earbuds and then someone's speaking another language and you understand what's going on. And are we utilizing that kind of technology?
Thank you so much, Commissioner, for that question. So at this time, generally, we are recommending that there is a human-led, human-reviewed process for translation and interpretation to ensure the quality and accuracy of the translation and interpretation. Nevertheless, the issue that you bring up regarding technologies is something that we are paying close attention to and that we are working to learn more about and be able to provide recommendations and guidelines to departments. So as we learn more and have guidelines and recommendations, I will be happy to come back to this commission to present on that topic.
Good, that's great.
Thank you. Commissioner Howe?
Yeah, just a question for clarification. The language access ordinance apply to all speakers and testimonials during the public hearing, correct?
Thank you so much for your question, Commissioner. Yes, indeed, the language access ordinance has provisions around interpretation for public hearings or meetings provided by the city, as well as translation of agendas and minutes by request.
Yeah, I just wanted to note testimonials provided by a community member during the presentation that Para Bay Area gave was not translated. And I was just wondering, what we could do going forward to make sure that we have translation available for community members who are providing testimonials who may not be here in person.
So if I just may intersect, normally there is a request, if there an advance notice for interpretation or translation request, there's a request that needs to be done in advance. And in the preparation for today's presentation, we were not aware that there was going to be somebody providing testimonial in the presentation. So even though we did have an interpreter in the room, I think what we can do in the future is make sure that we talk to presenters and understand who will be speaking better, so we can prepare for the interpreters to step up and make sure they can provide the interpretation in language at that time. So.
Yeah, thank you for that. I just want to, make sure that testimonial is translated because, it was a powerful one considering this hearing is about centering trans forces.
Commissioner Obregon?
Yeah. If we did have an interpreter available, why didn't they interpret?
So I know we have an interpreter in the room that was interpreting for somebody else. I just don't know why we didn't coordinate to get them to the stage, to the podium. And then if I just I think from my end, what I can do is to make sure that I understand who will be speaking, make sure that I can coordinate with the interpreters so they're up to come to the podium at that time.
This is not to throw anybody under the bus, but we were told there would be a Hindi interpreter here because we did know, and you helped us with that. I think the interpreter today, I don't know what their experience is, and I'm not again throwing anybody, but we did talk to them ahead. JJA was going to do their own interpretation because they wanted to get the emotion out, but the other interpretation, they were supposed to come up and interpret. So I don't know where the disconnect was, and that's what that's what I went back to up to them and said, why didn't you I even sent the script to them, like the WhatsApp audio from that person, but I don't know where it fell through. But also I recognize this is the first time that you probably have Hindi interpretation, right? Which is a great first step, or maybe I'm wrong. Go ahead.
I think it's the first time in my tenure. Yes.
Yeah, I've been around for a few suns around. I think it is the first time, so it's a learning. But I also think this is why I'm just going to be honest. The comment as the person headed out was, I really enjoyed this. This is our lives. This is not to be enjoying. We really need to find what Fani was saying. We need to find affirming people who give services, and that starts in this room. And Kajal's testimony is powerful, and I don't want to belabor the point, but yes, thank you for raising that. It really does upset the fact that the interpretation was there. Like, it's not that the department didn't do it, but it's also who we get in place, and that's not a reflection on anybody, but I just wanted to clarify that. One, the person wanted to do their own translation, but the other, we had talked to them, briefed them, and I don't know what fell through. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I just say,
Commissioner Obregon?
thank you, Chair, that first of all, I'm sorry that happened because, and I want to assure you that even though there was no interpretation, I really did feel that the testimony, I could hear it in their voice. But I do think that it was maybe, like, for example, our Spanish interpreters have a lot of experience being in this room, so they know how to step up, step back, step up when. And I think that was what was missing. They were sitting down the whole time. And I think it's just about a cue that it's okay for them to step up during that time for them to complete their interpretation. So I'm so glad that you brought it up because we were kind of wondering what was happening.
Thank you so much for this feedback. I will really bring this feedback also back for all of us so that next time we make sure, we work with the interpreters to make sure this doesn't happen again.
Yeah, thank you. Any other questions? I actually have a question, and it's sort of related to these gaps that we encounter how are we assessing, the gaps? Could you remind us of like the metrics so we can, avoid issues from happening or at least mitigate some of them, in terms of like the system approach for language access?
Thank you so much, Chair, for that question. We measure compliance in different ways. One is through complaints. We do encourage members of the public to submit their complaints. They help us know what's not working and they help us improve and provide recommendations for improvement. Another way that we work to assess gaps is through our LAO compliance report. Every year, the LAO requires that departments submit to us their data around language access and how they are meeting the requirements of the LAO around, for example, number of LEP, limited English proficient client services provided, telephonic, in-person, language services during public hearings, all the information we gather. And then we produce a summary language access ordinance report that comes out February 1st that provides to the public, information around trends that we are seeing. We do year-over-year comparisons, we do 5-year trends, and that helps us look around what is the status of language access in the city, as well as the feedback and the information that we receive from the community to let us know what's working, what's not working, what are the gaps.
Thank you. Any other comments?
Yes, please.
Yes.
Yeah, it's certainly, a concern. Who is it left to, to determine the language proficiency of the person seeking services with the city and who might need language support? I'm saying that because, it's a challenge in itself for someone, to assess or determine, their own proficiency. Either it's a psychological issue, there's some kind of shame, to confess to the fact that, hey, I can't speak the English, or they overestimate, the English proficiency. So when that's happened, to whom is it left, to say, hey, you're gonna need language support, and then we got to take this or that action. That may be, a matter of research, right? Working on that, for the future. But I think that, there's definitely a concern there, from my personal experience. Yeah, there's a concern there. So maybe it's some kind of campaign, because I believe that the language access ordinance that people should be served in the language they best understand, right? I think that's a basic principle now. How do they determine their own proficiency? I think that, that's also another matter, maybe that needs to be, a matter of research, maybe. That was just my concern. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Commissioner. That's a great question. On the one hand, anyone who requests language services, should be provided or must be provided language services by city departments. But you raise a very important question. What about what if that request is not like explicitly asked? How do service providers, in this case, city employees, city service providers, assess that the individual is limited English proficient, right? So those are pieces that we address during our annual training. And also, I'll take also this feedback to continue training around that piece. We always remind departments that communication goes both ways, right? So a language barrier, a language gap is something that affects both parties. So when the service provider identifies that there's a language gap, that there's a language difficulty, that the service provider needs to revert to yes/no questions instead of asking their regular open-ended questions, that might be an indicator that there's a language barrier or gap and that language services are necessary.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments? Okay. I also want to add, emphasize the leadership of, this commission and OSEA in advocating for strengthening of the LAO. including addition of Vietnamese, and really ensuring that we are focused on public outreach, that we understand the gaps. I want to acknowledge the efforts. It's not, a black and white solution, but, we're learning day by day with your input. That's why we encourage the public to come and share their input on how we can strengthen and continue improving access to city services, but also working together in a collaborative manner. I also want to give some time for Director Rivas if you have anything else to add. But I just want to acknowledge the work and the efforts, the ongoing efforts. So.
No, just thank you to Anna for presenting tonight. And also, as she shared, I know there's a lot of movement happening in the implementation of the LAO amendments. And in the future, we are happy to come back and share a time on how that is going to be rolled out in the new year, with the goal of implementing, again, there's a lot of what ifs because of the government shutdown and other things that we need data for, but there is a plan in place for implementing or certifying Vietnamese in the new year. So we're happy to come back at a later time and share that timeline with all of you. And then, of course, we have the LAO report that is also submitted by law to the Board of Supervisors and the Mayor on February 1st. So we will have that as well in a future meeting. So, but also it's an opportunity for all of you to ask more questions about the LAO and what's in it, and share more information about what the LAO actually does. So, and these is, again, the quarterly reports are only one piece of all of the work around language access.
Thank you, Director Rivas. So I'm going to ask if we have any public comment on this item. Item 7. Any public comment? Have 2 minutes.
I think you heard a lot from me today, but I don't know when I'll get a chance again. I think the point is not to be beleaguered, but language access is much more than Spanish, and I'm not trying to be divisive. And Parivar alone served 34 people. We have sat in front of judges. We have gone to the Bakersfield. We have translated with the Indian consulate because either we don't know, it's not required by CBOs to have that access. The ordinance also went through tremendous change. But what I'm trying to say is that languages that are not just official, but that are needed should be available on demand. And I think that is something that is so required. As you witnessed tonight, and as we see at Parivar Bay Area, and I'm just going to say the API trans immigrant community has varied language needs, and that region, the Global South, definitely needs much more investment. And that's the #1 reason for us to not see folks access healthcare, employment, housing, and immigration services, obviously, because that becomes a leverage point for folks to negotiate and use English as a way of, fleecing money and also having power dynamics at play. So I just really want to emphasize that it's much more than just one language, and that needs to be really uplifted. Thanks.
Thank you. Any other comments? Okay, so I'll be closing public comment, and just want to emphasize for every hearing, if you need interpretation, please reach out to OSEA, and we'll provide that accommodation. Also, I just want to add that, Director Rivas always updates on resources available through OSEA, Immigrant Forum, and please reach out and please keep attending our hearings. With your feedback, we'll have more, recommendations that are responsive to the needs of all our diverse communities. So thank you for that. And so I'm closing item 7, and I will move to item 8, old and new business. This item is to allow commissioners to provide updates on items the commission has previously discussed and to introduce new agenda items for future consideration by the commission. Before I pass to my fellow commissioners, I want to give an update regarding the special hearing on immigration enforcement and San Francisco local response held on October 27th. So the executive committee has scheduled a meeting for this Thursday, November 13th, to review the outcome and recommendations for next steps. and also deliberations regarding the resolution. So we encourage our commissioners to continue to review the resolution and send any proposed amendments that they may have. We'll have deliberations at the executive committee. In addition, we'll have deliberations and follow-up regarding this hearing on the transgender communities as well. And we'll be reviewing input from the community and the community organizations. So we hope to see you there. It's if you like to attend and participate in the deliberations. If not, you can submit your comments to Director Rivas and Clerk Shore if you are unable to attend. And then after that, I will pass to my fellow commissioners to see if they have any old or new business.
Follow up on that point.
Commissioner Obregon.
I just want to reiterate to please send in your recommendations based on what we heard from last hearing. The vice chair and myself already have probably around 6 recommendations, but we want to gain your input as much as we can so that it could be a full discussion at the executive committee. Thank you.
If I may, through the
Commissioner
chair, I just want to touch on some old business around the travel ban resolution, which and Director Rivas, if I missed something, please chime in. But just wanted to make sure that I follow up with the rest of the group. So in that resolution, there was a further resolve clause introduced by Commissioner Ng for SFO to have a resource hub for immigrants. So what we did on our part is, with the help of OCO staff, and thank you, Director Rivas, reached out to the director of SFO and asked them to share that resolution with the commission. So just want to make sure that, we follow up on our action items and you all are aware.
Thank you, Commissioner Farah. Anyone else? Okay. Okay, so I will move to our last item, which actually, do we have any public comments on the old or new business? Public comment? I don't see any public comment. Now I will move to our last item, which is adjournment. Thank you so much, everyone, for your contributions today. To all my fellow commissioners, the newly sworn, but also the reappointed members of this body. Thank you, Director Rivas and the entire OCA team, Clerk Shore, for your hard work and, for your constant work, but also trying to always be responsive and supportive of the commission and your leadership. We appreciate you. We see you. Thank you. And then, just let's continue to work together. Together we thrive and we build a more inclusive city. Thank you. Have a good night. Meeting is adjourned.
Thanks, Chair.